particularly in the sugar sector. Speaking from Kakamega State Lodge during a consultative meeting with Western Kenya leaders, the president retweeted that there was no place for the corrupt in Kenya and that they should leave Kenya, go to jail or go to heaven.
Wale watu wanazungukana na mamidia sijui na nani kuishi press referral center Mountain will not be part of this country anymore. We are sick. Kenyans are sick and tired. Na ndio mimi nataka nirudie. Sijui LSK wanatetea wezi, watu ya Azimio wanatetea wezi kwa sababu wanagawana hiyo pesa. Mimi nataka niwaambie hao watu wote watakoma, na kama hawatakoma wahame Kenya. Hiyo mtawapeleka jela. Ama wako na option ya tatu waende kuzuru.
The president has also warned those who use politics and the courts to protect thieves, saying that their time is up.
Tuwe to decent people. Tuwe decent people. Wale wanafanya biashara. Wawekezaji katika nchi yetu sana. Wawekezaji wote tunaheshimu biashara. Tunataka watu wafanye kazi, lakini na ufisadi hapana. No. Sio kama tunaelewana jamani. Tuko pamoja.
The president came under sharp criticism from human rights groups and opposition, who said his utterances called into question the government's commitment to the right to life and protection of persons against cruel and inhumane treatment. Now, the technical committee for bipartisan talks is expected to meet today to address the issues that should be prioritized during the discussion before the committee's meetings officially begin tomorrow. Some of the agenda include the cost of living, creation of the office of the opposition leader, as well as legally approving the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary and formation of IEBC commissioners.
We have adjourned to Friday this week at 10 a.m. to allow the Secretariat and the technical teams to work on prioritization of the issues and guide us on how we prioritize what issues do we begin with.
This after Kenya Kwanza and the Azimio side signed the guidelines with the view of seeing the talks succeed. The guidelines were signed by Kalonzo Musyoka of Azimio and Kimani Ichung'wah of Kenya Kwanza.
We indeed have made tremendous progress. Wahenga ndio walisema ukiona vyaelea ujue vimeundwa. So a lot of work has been done. Ndio sasa vitu vimeanza kuelea. And we want to encourage Kenyans to continue to have faith in this team.
The committee has also said that its activities will not affect the process of the panel appointed by President William Ruto to investigate IEBC commissioners, despite the fact that the issue is one of its main agenda, saying that they will write to inform it about its engagements.
On the question of whether we are able to stop the selection panel, we are not writing to them to stop doing their work. It's just to take what has been described by the Honorable Eugene Wamalwa in our meeting as judicial notice of the ongoings of this national dialogue team. And therefore, even as they progress their work, then they take note that it's part of the issues that we are engaging on.
You never know. You could end up with a reconstitution of the panel itself. You never know. Everything is on the table.
Kalonzo Musyoka said that they are ready to achieve the agenda of the committee for asking Kenyans to ignore politicians' statements about the mediation process, saying everything will be done through consultation.
And we continue to tell Kenyans to ignore the naysayers. There will always be those who feel threatened for whatever reason by something so illustrious, because this is wonderful work, and we're going to move very, very fast. A lot of work will be happening also. I think sometime we've agreed on the work plan again, the dates and everything, and when to have stakeholder engagement, for example, that is clear. And so we are ready to sign, we are ready to go.
The committee has 60 days to prosecute the issues on the table. Across the borders, and the military leaders who took power in Gabon have announced the head of the Presidential Guard unit as Brice Clotaire Oligui Nguema as the country's interim leader. According to news reports, Nguema is the cousin of the ousted President Ali Bongo. The spokesperson of the Transitional Council through state news agency Gabon 24 announced Nguema as the interim president.
I'm Ali Bongo Ondimba, President of Gabon. And I'm to send a message to all the friends that we have all over the world to tell them to make noise, for the people here have arrested me and my family. My son is somewhere.
This is New to I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry. Hapo.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It won't start.
A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in Kiswahili.
Ben low, nin inte, nin there, you markati kadikta. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. And you must blame it on Adam, not me. Because Adam messed up and he was told, now you fellow you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Na hii mambo utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room.
Good morning. Welcome to, what is it? It's Thursday, and what's happening where we are this morning? A little bit of movement here and there coming off the Thika Superhighway. That looks like it will be interesting, especially since the rains are coming down in certain parts. It's a bit of a drizzle here and there, so it might slow things down just a tad. But traffic is moving without too much of an issue right about now. We're also seeing some movement coming off of Waiaki Way, and we'll see James Gishiro pile up later. Let's look at Jugo Road, movement as well, just past the Makadara train station, out towards Landis Road, and then on towards Kamkunji, and then on to Haile Selassie. That's where you see the most of it for about now. Looks like we're starting Thursday off right. Let's just continue just like that. Yes. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on X. It's Thursday.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way.
Welcome to Thursday. Welcome to the end of August. This is it. After today, we're in 2024. Me not sure. 2024, just like that. Just like that. How you doing?
Fine, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. I like your little head thingy.
Thank you.
What do you call that?
How about we go with head thingy? Scarf, turban, something.
Okay.
It's doing. Okay.
Sasa hiyo ni material gani?
Sijui. Sijui.
Yes, hiyo ni ile inaitangwa kikoi.
Is it? Maybe a little smaller than a kikoi.
Well, it's the material, not the size.
Okay, sawa. Nimeelewa.
Inakaa poa, huh?
Asante.
You look different.
Different good or different? Different funny, like
different.
Just different. Different is good.
You look different.
Okay.
So the rain is here.
Yeah.
Weatherman
said yesterday that
in October.
And here we are.
Prepare for El Nino. So this is the one that's coming to prepare the way. This is like John the Baptist.
This has cleaned the road. Now it's
This is John the Baptist.
Yeah. This rain from yesterday. It's John the Baptist.
Hey. Hello everybody. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Hey. How are you?
Sasa, you haven't asked me, how do I start answering?
I'm asking you now. Just take it easy.
I am fine.
You're fine?
Yeah. I'm good. Ati Wanja is saying that is a kitenge. This is not kitenge, bwana.
Kitenge, bwana.
Hii hii ni kikoi, bwana. Anyway, mimi niko poa kabisa. Asante sana. City, he went and did his own things with his own, now he's tired. Now he wants to rest.
He needs a rest. Yeah.
So he'll be back on Monday. God willing, he'll be rested enough.
Just take it easy.
Relax, chill and relax.
Kabiza.
Yes. You know, there's a lot that's been happening about in land. Kwanza, people who've had long leases. And then there was a reversion of the lease. And then there's issues of inheritance and manenos like that. There are people in Kiambu, in Muranga, in Elgeyo. You remember the story that was going around about this land that belonged to Kipchoge Keino?
Yep.
And his family saying, surely, our land is basically just being excised, as we see. It's happening a lot, not just there. There are very many other cases.
Everywhere?
Then it comes to Nairobi and houses. Leases are coming to an end. In some of these places, old estates, Westlands, Kilimani, Kileleshwa.
Where you bought a house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lavington. So you've lived in this house. The lease is coming to an end. The land belongs to the city county of Nairobi. Lease is expiring. Guys at City Hall know that the lease is expiring. You have forgotten that the lease is expiring. You are supposed to, of course, get the first right of refusal to renew that lease. That's what the law says. But then, guys at City Hall know law. Nini. So, kidogo, your land has been transferred.
To somebody else.
Lease
or at least up for
Yes, lease has been transferred to somebody
sale.
else. Kidogo, you're being kicked out. You've seen those cases happening a lot in Nairobi. What's happening in our land sector? We'll be joined at 7 a.m. by a lawyer who's a conveyancing lawyer, Kipkoech Ngetich. He'll be here. When people buy hot air and what happens with all these land issues. Let's hear from him at 7 a.m. At 8 o'clock, a titan of the real estate industry, Kenneth Mbaye, who's managing director of Centum Real Estate, will be joining us. We'll be talking about Centum Real Estate and what they've been doing, looking at the growth of Centum Real Estate, the projects. We've been talking about those projects. Project in Kilifi, project in Kasarani, project at Two Rivers, project in Uganda. These guys are doing big and they're going big. Ken joins us at 8 for a conversation on looking at the real estate sector. And then at 9 o'clock, tuichape siasa kidogo. Samson Cherargei is the senator for Nandi County. A lot's happening. Senator Cherargei has been very, very vocal on the matter of cabinet secretaries and accountability, particularly one cabinet secretary, Ababu Namwamba.
Yes.
What?
He did not let up at all.
Yes. So he'll be coming to tell us why is it that there's mounting pressure on cabinet secretaries to be answerable to Parliament. And is it all cabinet secretaries or is it just one?
Just a few.
Yeah. So that's how it looks like today. Sawa?
Yeah.
Sawa?
Sawa.
Sijui kama tuko pamoja.
Tuko pamoja.
All right. We are live streaming on YouTube and Facebook. Spice FM on both platforms. I can see very many people are online. Let's take a look at the weather forecast. In the meantime, if you're online, please make noise. Please, all our friends online, make noise. Let everybody know that you're online. Make noise.
It's drizzling in Nairobi at 14, highs of 23. We'll see lows of 14 today. 14 looks like the lucky number in Nakuru. That's what it is, and that's what the low will be. Same thing in Nyeri, going to highs of 22. 22 will also be the high in a partly cloudy Eldoret at 12, down to lows of 11. It's 23 and cloudy in Mombasa, highs of 29 and lows of 23, and we'll see lows of 24 in a partly cloudy Malindi, going to highs of 29. It's 18 and clear in Kisumu, highs of 29, and 28 will also be the high in a clear Kakamega at 16. 18 and partly cloudy conditions in Kampala, going to highs of 28, and Dar es Salaam will see highs of 29, where it's mostly cloudy at 23. It's cloudy at 9 in Johannesburg, highs of 21, and we'll see highs of 30 in a mostly cloudy Lagos at 25. It's 23 and cloudy in Kinshasa, highs of 31 and lows of 21, and at 25 it's sunny in Beijing Thursday afternoon, highs of 29 and lows of 19. 13 and mostly cloudy in Paris, highs of 20, and we'll see highs of 17 in London, where it's cloudy at 13. 21 and clear in New York Wednesday night, coming into Thursday, highs of 30 and lows of 17.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, many people. Wananchi Mpo, Tupac Shakur told you he never dies, still here with us. Don Sabo says, good morning team, tomorrow is September 2023. Wow, mambo ni matatu peke. Eric, yesterday in Malawi we say Zulo. Ndu, Zulo, yani yesterday. You understand? Yesterday is Zulo.
Zulo.
Kwambiri rather, have a nice day. So we've learned two things. Zulo. And Kwambiri.
Okay.
Sawa. Okay.
So Kwambiri is have a nice day.
Kwambiri is have a nice day. Yes, it is.
Okay. This is Malawi. Yes. Okay. What's coming to my mind is Zimbabwean. Tambira Jehovah. Tambira Jehovah. Imbira Jehovah.
So George Gashoriri says, good morning, Ndu and Eric, keep up the good work. Asante. Tupac Shakur again says, do you remember the days we used to sing Nyayo Ju Zaidi for Moy? Used to sing something like that. Okay. Don Sabo says, good morning. Okay, we've seen that already. Cliff Ombachi says, good morning from Kisi. Looking forward to the show. Ednah Mbuyore. She said yes. That's how you answer. Evans Nyangano says, good morning. I'm not tuned in from my usual location, Rangao in Kajiado County, but at Karen Hospital. Allah, why?
What's up?
Trusting in God for healing while praying with you, brother. Hope everything is going to be all right.
Hola, Evans.
Hola, Sana. Kurir Isaac says, good morning. Looking forward to insightful conversations. Good morning, great people. Money can buy anything in Kenya, including Babu's freedom. Ooh-wee. Anyway, I didn't see him with a gun and we've been friends. I'm an Amnagani. Okay, I agree. Sam Chelule says, good morning, Eric and Ndu. Mambo ni Mawili Spice FM Situation Room. Tuned in from Sydney. Brian Otieno says, GM Bongo Hana Bongo. Sasa sijui ni nini?
Chibongo yule.
Oh, so.
Na ubongo is this one.
Akili. Okay.
Bongo hana bongo.
Okay. Siku njema Ndu na Eric Wanja, we see you. Many things here. Vitsi ni tatu moja hama aka we deport you. 2, enda jela, we plant fake charges on you. Or 3, enda binguni, aka we claim you killed yourself, kama Okoh did. All right. Sam, happy cool summer. Wow, I don't know that that's a happy thing to celebrate. No fool stays in power for years on end when there are so many generals, sons and wives waiting in the wings to launch a coup. Interesting. Waja, yes, Kitenge, aka headgear. Okay. 2 totally different things, but all right. Hiram Gavondu says, good morning, into an Eric Umevalia Kikoi Leo. Yes. Dr. Venvic says, good morning, tuning in from Tude, Mombasa. And said CT Bado, yeah. Good morning, people. Wanja, we see you as well. John Kiangu says, good morning, Eric and Indu, listening from Machakos, tuning in from Seattle in Washington, addicted to your voices. Where is CT? Taking a minute to recharge. Brian Otieno, see you as well. Good morning. Arthur Wanjama, you're concerned about CT? He's all right. He'll be back. Bristol Nagila says, good morning, Indu, Latiff, CT, Kejani and Ednah, joining from on the road. Victoria Namtosi says good morning. And Sir George Gashayuri says, we have made noise, Eric. Okay. Lamek Makua says good morning. Peter Katam says good morning, watching the blue moon in York, Pennsylvania. Good morning, Spice tuned in. Zeke says good morning, making noise as well. From Adelaide in South Australia, Abraham Sang is there. And Daniel Ongondi says good morning as well. Dave says good morning and is also, saying many things about coups and presidents and things like that. Jemo is tuned in from Texas. Whole bunch of people this morning there and a whole bunch of people as well on Facebook. We can see you. Moja kwa moja. Karibuni sana.
Okay. Today's proverb, again, South African proverb. A grave must not be dug until a person is dead.
A grave is not dug until a person is dead. Yeah.
like da.
I mean, surely. Okay. It is at the time, then we will do it at the time. We're not preparing. You don't prepare.
And yet we know that everybody's going to die.
Yeah, but you're not going to start digging graves all over the place.
You can dig your own grave. It's not all over the place.
Maybe because if you do, you're beckoning death. You see the way you prepare for a child, that's different because life is coming. But now if you prepare for death like that, this is like you're saying, oh yeah, come quickly, I'm ready for you. We don't really speak of it like that. We don't speak of being ready for death. I know people have burial plots and things like that. But they don't actually dig the graves. That's interesting. They could have a plot and it's there. Burial plots and things. Family plots for burial.
Yeah.
But they don't dig the holes until people actually die.
Yep.
Voila.
A grave is not dug until a person is dead. Haya. Hiyo ni mzuri, sindio?
Sindio.
Twende headlines.
All right. DJ Evolve, why Babu was freed. It's on the front page of the Standard. An 18-page deal with DJ. Witnesses who recanted evidence, questions without answers, sheer or deliberate negligence. All these were at play at Embakasi as the Embakasi Embakasi MP cleared of the shooting of DJ Evolve at the Nairobi club on January 17th, 2020. So that takes the front page. President is defiant and insists on 3 options. Remember what we said yesterday? It's not the first time he said it. He's repeated it. And then yesterday he did what?
Repeated.
For avoidance of doubt, I said what I said. If I said what I said needed a visual representation,
this is it. Yes.
I said what I said, guys. If it makes you uncomfortable, then you deal with your uncomfortability. But I'm telling you the truth. It's not about emotions or opinions. I'm telling you the truth.
I'm just stating it out there like it is.
So, Okay, Deputy Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah and Azimio Principal Kalonzo Musyoka standing at Bomas, and there they have what would be a dossier on agreements. They have a deal, and they've drawn the rules for these national talks, and those have been put down on paper. So it looks like the talks are moving on. Senate ejects Eldoret Jobs Agency boss for refusing to apologize for accusing Parliament of bias. Judy Chepchirchir has a thing or two to say, and she's not being cowed by anybody. On the front page of The Nation, Ruto Raila strike common ground. Now, Ruto Raila striking common ground is exemplified in this picture with Kalonzo Musyoka and Kimani Ichung'wah. Just in case you're wondering what common ground, that is it. The war on graft. Immigration cartels are still a pain point for Interior CS Kindiki. And people have arrested others. Detectives have arrested 4 suspects in the ongoing crackdown on corrupt officials at the Immigration Department. So at least, something's happening. Budapest 2023, Kenya's good, bad and ugly is also an analysis that's being carried out in The Nation. And the Gabon coup leaders place Bongo under house arrest. Rebel officers seize power after disputed polls. Joho firm dealt blow in court battle with KPA over new tariffs. And education. Ministry is in a move to increase varsity funding applications. I don't know what that means. To increase the varsity funding available or to make sure that more people apply. We'll look at details of that. Yes.
Let me tell you what's on the Business Daily. How September taxes will hit firms and consumers. The second round of new taxes introduced through the Contentious Finance Act 2023 kicks in tomorrow, whose impact will be felt across several industries, including cement, steel, paper, suppliers, digital and creative economy, and entertainment. From tomorrow, the sale of cryptocurrencies, content, music, ebooks, photos, documents, videos, logos, animations, illustrations, and social media accounts, among other digital assets will attract 3% tax.
From tomorrow.
You want to sell your Facebook account? Hii account inauzwa. 3% tax. The digital assets tax will be payable on income derived from the digital assets as President Ruto's administration moves to take a share of this economy in pursuit of their 2.7 trillion shillings tax targets. Also starting this Friday, imported clinker, raw material for the manufacture of cement, as well as finished iron and steel will start attracting 17.5% export and investment promotion levy. This is likely to push up the cost of these products. Okay? Hiyo inakuja kuanzia lini? Kesho. The other headline, Kenya banks lending to parent firms abroad up 61%. Banks in Kenya are lending to their mothers abroad. Kenyan multinational banks increased their lending to affiliate companies abroad by 61% in the 6 months to June compared to the corresponding period last year, raising concerns about Kenyan forex deposit funding external assets. Filing by banks showed that the lenders with external parents had lent affiliates in foreign markets some 177 billion shillings by the end of June. That's up from 110 a year earlier. Banks with common majority shareholders often collaborate and may lend and borrow from one another. The terms of the transactions that the lenders have with their affiliate firms are normally not disclosed, but they are expected to treat the sister companies the same way they deal with other customers. How many banks have their parents out of this country?
Where?
How many banks have parents out of this country?
A number, isn't it? Where they're looking at
Standard Chartered, Absa, Bank of India,
Citibank,
Guaranteed Bank, GT Bank, Bank of Africa, EcoBank.
Yeah.
So let's talk about them. By the end of June, Kenyan lenders had held currency deposits. So, for example, Standard Chartered Bank of Kenya had the largest volume of loans to affiliates at 109 billion shillings. The lender, which is majority owned by London-based Standard Chartered PLC, has scores of affiliates operating in East Africa, Europe and the Middle East, and the US and Asia. The other bank, Citibank, Stanbic Bank, Absa. Absa backed the trend, however, with a decline in its affiliate lending. So that is what was happening. The ticker headlines in the Business Daily. National Oil eyes 5 billion shillings from investor in fuel stations deal. Remember, the cabinet approved the splitting of National Oil into You deal with big stream, you deal with middle stream, you deal with small stream, low stream. Okay? And then they were told, these 100 stations that you have across the country, let's bring in a private investor to come in and do things. Put money, run those stations, then you do a revenue split. Now, the National Oil Corporation is eyeing at least 5 billion shillings from the state-backed turnaround deal that will see it secure an investor to run its more than 100 petrol stations. 5B will come in like that. Higher. Other headline, Jubilee Holdings doubles its interim dividend to 145 million shillings. And the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company has tapped additional 3 billion shillings from the World Bank and African Development Bank credit lines in the half year ended June to support concessional funding to prospective home buyers. KMRC is a game changer, I keep saying.
It is.
And if more and more people get to know about KMRC and that you can go and get a mortgage at sub 10% from KMRC, then you create more demand for KMRC loans. Then you get more money, KMRC gets more money from its affiliates, World Bank, AFDB, and the other banks. But will change very many things.
Why do you reckon
very fast?
Why do you reckon that there are not stronger partnerships with organizations and KMRC, with government even and KMRC?
I don't know. It's a lack of awareness. It could be deliberate or maybe not, because they just need to set aside a budget and make sure that everybody knows about it. You don't expect a bank to go and tell you, I have this loan that's priced at 16% and I have another loan from KMRC that's priced at 8%.
Right.
Okay? But KMRC has the mandate to make sure that it publicizes its products. And this is it. They just need to set aside a bigger budget, go do road shows, go to all the SACCO meetings everywhere. There's a SACCO AGM. KMRC shows up. Guys, you can actually buy homes using this SACCO because this SACCO is a member of the KMRC package.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Anyway, let's take that break. Senor.
Sawa.
It is 28 minutes after 6 a.m. So, no, it's 28 minutes to 7. It's 32 minutes after 6. Yeah. Tuendele. Let's take a look at traffic and then shortly we look at the stories in detail.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
On Jogo Road is where we see the most of it right about now, getting out towards the junction at City Stadium and then heading out over towards Landys Road. All right, we'll see then movement right around Kamkunji, going in till the Haile Selassie at the junction and then getting out into the city centre. All right, are we looking at some traffic coming out of Westlands? Yes, we are. And we're also looking at traffic on the Thika Superhighway just past Mathare out towards Survey and then on to the Pangani underpass. Coming out of Kitisuru, United Nations Avenue, not much happening there, but there is movement on the northern bypass as you're trying to everybody get into the CBD. Who's this? This is Magadi Road. It's getting out then towards Multimedia University, out then towards Langata Road. We're going to watch that because there's movement there and there's quite a lot of it at this time. Keep an eye on that, folks. Let us know what's going on if you're coming in from that direction. And let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter as we try to get on X. As we try to keep things moving this morning.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Okay.
94.
There's a guy called Ngeno. Ngeno works for Securex security company. Securex. He's posted at Delta Towers, and I met him yesterday, and he says, "Salimia hawa watu sana."
Hey, tumesalimiwa. Dennis?
Ngeno.
Okay.
Ngeno at Delta Towers, Securex. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
I do like that.
Okay, so I want to tell you about this El Nino. Let's look at the weather for a minute, okay? National pages. And the weatherman there was a presser yesterday. They said many things, but heavy rains in coming months across the country. And they've told us that these rains are going to last from October until January, well through Christmas into the new year. And not only will it be raining, but it will be raining heavily. There is a warning for those who are on the lowlands to now move to higher ground, because it could get bad. And they're talking about certain parts of the country where you'll see this increased rainfall, whereas September and October we'll have suppressed rainfall. November and December will be wetter than usual, with some regions getting rainfall well into January 2024. According to the director of the Kenya Meteorological Department, David Gikongo, this will be driven by warmer than average sea surface temperatures over the central and eastern equatorial Pacific Ocean, indicating the presence of El Nino conditions. El Nino is a phenomenon, happens over the ocean every 2 years.
Okoh in the Pacific. Can you imagine?
Yeah, imagine. Every 2 years, and it's making its comeback to Kenya, or at this side. So it's interesting when it is on this side, El Nino, on the other side, La Nina. So more or less heavy rains, and for a prolonged period of time, right? In most of the global climate models, El Nino conditions are likely to persist for 3 or more months. Throughout the season, it's anticipated that most areas will have a relatively fair to good distribution of rainfall in both time and space. Random storms are likely to occur over several parts of the country during the season. Officials of the government, during the presentation of the forecast, told Kenyans to prepare well for the rains and not be caught off guard. And then yesterday evening it rains. The officials specifically asked farmers in the breadbasket counties to harvest early, as the rains might disrupt the season. So you're looking at this whole area, Trans Nzoia, Kitale, out in that direction, and they're saying, you know what, the rain might actually destroy your crop if we're not watching out for that. So
And
that's
Narok.
a big deal.
You know, Narok, especially around Narok town, when it rains, it pours, it floods.
Yes.
They were releasing this report in Narok yesterday because I think they know that this is going to be one of the worst hits. El Nino comes with heavy rains, heavy overflow, flooding. If Narok is not prepared, Narok is going to get hit, yes.
Yeah, could be really bad.
Yes.
What are some of the areas that we are looking at, just, for the regions expected rains to continue from September? The highlands west of the Rift Valley, Lake Victoria Basin, Siaya, Kisumu, Homa Bay, Migori, Kisii, Nyamira, parts of Baringo, Uasin Gishu, West Pokot, Elgeyo Marakwet, Nandi, parts of Bomet, Kericho, Bungoma, Kakamega, Busia, Trans Nzoia, West Pokot, and Vihiga. Right? We're supposed to see second to the third week of October. So those places I've just mentioned, rain is likely to start this week into the end of September. We're now looking at rain starting from October in central and southern Rift Valley, Nakuru, Narok, Laikipia, parts of Bomet and Baringo. First to second week of October, the highlands east of the Rift Valley, including Nairobi, Nyandarua, Nyeri, Kirinyaga, Murang'a, Kiambu, Embu, Meru, Tharaka Nithi, and again, Nairobi. Now, looking at southeast, second to third week of October, with a likelihood of a dry spell after the onset, and then rain again thereafter, is Kitui, Makueni, Machakos, Taita Taveta, and Kajiado. Fourth week of September to the first week of October, we're looking at rain at the coast, Mombasa, coastal parts of Tana River, Kilifi, Lamu, and Kwale.
Wow.
So the whole country,
Yep.
essentially, is going to experience this.
Yep. And for that reason, the cabinet secretary for, it's called what? Semi-arid and regional development,
ASOS.
Rebecca Miano, says the government is seeking to raise 33 billion shillings to deal with the impact of the expected El Nino. The money is expected to be used between this month and January next year, when heavy rains are to hit various parts of the country. She says it's critical that more funds are utilized to support sectoral interventions for recovery and the expected El Nino rains. She stated the food security situation in the country has improved because of the previous rainfall, but in terms of preparedness, so look at the institutions that need to be on high alert. Kenha and the other road agencies. Yes?
Yep.
Because we're going to have infrastructure destroyed. Bridges, roads. We're talking about Narok. You see that place around Satellite where when it rains, the land splits.
Be ready for
If the
something.
land splits everybody who's heading to Bomet, to Nyamira, to Kisii, Ednah, how are you going home? Tafuta helicopter. Because if that land splits, if Narok floods, that means that you've been cut off. You have to use the Nakuru road, go all the way to Kericho, find another way back into Bomet and into Kisii and into those other areas. So the road agencies must be on high alert. Completely start clearing drainages, doing all these things. This is not just a warning for us to make sure that we are ready to live in our houses.
Yeah, no.
Nairobi should be prepared. Are we clearing drainages? What are we doing with this warning that we've been given? Those are the questions that we need to be hearing answered
absolutely
by all these government agencies.
But Eric, that thing we talk about clearing drainages, we're looking at 30 to 40% of the work done by clearing drainages alone. Because what happens when floods is that the water has nowhere to pass through. That's what causes a flood, essentially. Because after the rain has come, then there are pools of water all over the place. And then now when that water starts to move very slowly or remain stagnant, we have so many things that happen. Things get submerged, number one. Number two, then you have diseases that come about as a result of stagnant water. I mean, so many things can happen. Clearing of drainages deals with a huge percentage of the problem.
Big time.
It would be great if we saw that actually done.
Yes. We will make that noise until you start seeing things happening. Kwanza Nairobi, the way lately garbage has visited. It's like garbage has come for climate talks.
Yes, we're here.
What? Tell us that story. I think you'll tell us the story of Judy Chepchirchir.
You want me to tell you now?
Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you.
Tell us.
They're calling it, let me look at it in The Nation. They're calling it Tales of Woe from the victims of a first choice jobs racket. The victims who were drawn from Trans Nzoia, Nakuru, Uasin Gishu and Elgeyo Marakwet claimed they were promised lucrative job opportunities in Qatar during the World Cup. World Cup that finished last year. Okay, no wahala. So, the lady who is said to be behind all of this is the founder and director of this consultancy agency, Judy Chepchirchir, during the hearing by the Senate Committee of Labour and Welfare at Bunge Towers in Nairobi yesterday. Now, emotions ran high. It was an uncomfortable situation. The Senate Committee hearing, as the victims talked about losing millions of shillings in an overseas job deal that never materialized. The victims, who were drawn from those counties that I'd mentioned earlier, claimed they were promised lucrative job opportunities in Qatar during the World Cup. Appearing before the Senate Committee on Labour, the youth detailed how they were subjected to fake medical tests, issued with fake receipts, and made to wait in vain to reach Qatar, or rather to travel to Qatar. With the promise of high-paying jobs evaporating, the victims described to the MPs how their search for refunds had left them bounced checks, harassment and intimidation, and being jailed on trumped-up charges. Others have had to cope with broken families, lost property and illness because of the agency's unwillingness to refund money paid to them, which was only accepted in cash to cover any paper trail. KEO South MP Gideon Kimayo said he was also a victim of Miss Judy Chepchirchir's agency, as he had paid money for some of his relatives. However, his money was refunded after the relative failed to make it to Qatar. So that was all happening. But probably what stole the show yesterday is that the Judy Chepchirchir yesterday, during these submissions, accused Parliament of being partisan. Okay? She said that
Sorry, now you're switching to the standard story.
No, I'm switching to the standard story, right? She was obviously summoned because now these proceedings went on yesterday. In a letter by her advocate, Henry Kenay, she had accused the committee, now this committee that they sat before yesterday, of favouring petitioners and making unflattering remarks that portrayed her in a negative manner before the public. Now, you see all those things that I'd read before, when they were saying, oh, fake letters, fake money, harassment, intimidation. She said, come on, that's playing on my person. You people are bringing them here to run emotions high, and it is not fair. She said that we are not going to withdraw the letter sent to the committee raising concerns over what my client sees as favouring the petitioners instead of listening to both sides. By making that decision, we will be implying that it is written without due diligence. Nandi Senator, who shall be here at 9 o'clock, Samson Cherargei, demanded for disbandment of the National Employment Authority, for allowing First Choice Agency to continue carrying out its activities despite having an expired license, which he termed the highest exhibit of impunity. He accused the authority of facilitating activities of an agency accused of defrauding thousands of Kenyans. So, after she said she's not going to withdraw her letter, the Senate committee now told her, thank you very much. You may now excuse yourself and leave because we're not doing this.
But why would the Senate want her to leave anyway? Just because she's written a letter.
She wrote a letter.
And she's raising concern. You're allowing people to come here and besmirch my name and reputation.
And you're not giving me an opportunity to defend myself.
Yeah, and they're just coming and talking just like that. Come on. No, this is not fair.
So she's accused them of being biased. Parliament, the committee comes back and says, actually, you know what? The very foundation that has set up this committee is fairness. We are going to listen to both sides, but you've jumped the gun, essentially is what they've told her by writing this letter. You've not even allowed us to do the other side of the due diligence. We're hearing from them. We are going to hear from you. So actually, you know what? You've accused us and we require an apology from you and a withdrawal of that letter. She said no. So they said, okay, come and go.
Guy.
So I don't know what that means for the next proceedings.
Guy.
Because if they say now you can come back and she'll say, but you told me to go.
This all looks choreographed to me. Unfortunately, there's a lot of choreography happening here. In the end, you'll see nothing coming out of this story. There will be some slapstick here, some things so small, but then after that, gone with the wind. Higher. Mr. President, withdraw and apologize. Mr. President, withdraw. Says what? Withdraw what? Apologize what? President William Ruto has reiterated his determination to get rid of cartels, asserting that he will not be intimidated by the opposition or civil society groups who defend these cartels and corrupt individuals. He was at Kakamega State Lodge yesterday where he was speaking to farmers and he reaffirmed his 3 options for cartels, crooks and corrupt individuals. Mambo ni ngapi?
Watatu.
Either uende wapi? Uhame Kenya. Ama uende jela. Ama
uende binguni.
Safiri Sayuni. Bas.
In case you didn't hear me.
Story finish. He said, I have heard people defending thieves, newspapers defending thieves because they despise taxpayers' stolen money. I want to tell all those people that all thieves and cartels will stop. If they fail to stop, then they should leave Kenya. If not, I'll take them to jail. Or if they have the third option of going to heaven. He said Kenyans have suffered immensely because of corruption, theft and waste of public resources, saying it's time to end corruption. We cannot continue entertaining corruption, wastage and theft in whatever manner. We cannot continue to undertake it. We need to have a break. And the corrupt, those who are used to stealing public resources, those who use politics to protect thieves and corrupt, those who buy courts so that they can continue to steal from Kenyans, those who have differences in business, I want to announce, time is up. In Kiswahili, he said, nimesikia watu wengine wakisema, na threaten watu. I have not threatened anybody. It's the truth, not a threat. Nasikia eti, nimetisha watu. Sijatisha watu. Wezi, na wakora, na wale wanataka kuonyeshana na mambo ya wafisadi, watahama Kenya. Ama wataenda jela. Ama waenda wapi?
Binguni.
Bas. Story finish.
Completed the sentence for him.
And clapped.
Yes.
And
it's, it's interesting that. Remember in the morning yesterday, when we spoke about this and we're like, you know what? An apology is not going to come from the lips of President William Ruto.
Nothing.
I even said that he's going to explain it. It's no explanation. He's telling you exactly what he said before. For all avoidance of doubt, if you did not hear him, let me repeat what I have to say. And in fact, has told all of you who are making noise about, human rights. No, we're not going to allow that kind of situation continue happening in Kenya. That's what he's saying. Don't think that he's now going to get emotional about it. He's just telling you what he says is the truth.
Mambo ni ngapi? Bas. What? I wonder what it means though. Okay, because if you just look at it plainly, he's saying the obvious things. The corrupt have no space in this country. You want to practice that corruption business of yours?
Outside.
Don't practice in Kenya. Go outside. If you do it in Kenya, then the law will catch up with you. Okay? The third option, we can look at various ways of implementing it and actualizing it.
Will you go on a chariot of fire like Elisha? I don't know.
We can have a democratic process of sending you to heaven, or you just choosing that, you know what, it's become untenable for me to live here. So, my friends, I bid you goodbye. And you off yourself.
I'm going.
Yes.
We will not prescribe to you the channel with which you'll reach heaven.
Yeah.
But
it will be so difficult for you to be here if you're not leaving the country and you're not in jail. Then the other option will just be the only one. Yeah. Wendo happy? Sayuni. Sayuni. There's been this issue of Kenyatta University.
Tell me.
Kenyatta University and then Kenyatta University Teaching, Research and Referral Hospital.
Yeah.
Which was built on a piece of land annexed from the original Kenyatta University land. And then at some point, this hospital, because now it's a level 6 National Teaching Referral Research Hospital, was made a parastatal and transferred to the Ministry of Health. Now, Attorney General Justin Muturi has termed as irregular the transfer of to the Health Ministry as a parastatal. Mr. Muturi told the National Assembly's Public Investments Committee on Education that legal notice number 4 of 2019, which placed the 8.7 billion shilling hospital under the Ministry of Health, should be reversed and the hospital's ownership reverted to Kenyatta University. I don't agree that legal notice is valid, he said. The land on which the hospital stand belonged to KU. How can the legal notice be valid? The AG argued that should have been created through an act of parliament and not a legal notice. It's a procedure that he's arguing with.
Okay.
He says you want to create a parastatal, then have an act of parliament that establishes the Act. Okay? And not just a legal notice. The legal notice was issued by the former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Kenyatta University, which built a hospital, had protested the decision, saying the move locked its teaching staff and students from accessing the health facility. The initial plan was to use the hospital for teaching, training and research. But the AG told the House, this House has already pronounced itself and given the executive 6 months to reverse the decision. He appeared before the committee that's chaired by Bumula MP Jack Kwamboka to shed light on the ownership of as well as the status of the land held by PS Kinyanjui Technical Training Institute and Kiambu Institute of Science and Technology. Even those ones have issues. So now that dispute is not going anywhere soon. But if you think about it, it's a national referral hospital. Obviously, it should be a national facility. It's a level 6.
It should be.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, KU can enter into an MOU with this for your medical students to train at the facility.
There, yes.
Kenyatta Hospital does not belong to the University of Nairobi. But they have an understanding. Medical students at the University of Nairobi end up at Kenyatta National Hospital.
And do their internships there, and they do their first level training and all of that. It happens there.
MTRH also does not belong to any university like Moi University in Eldoret. But, so, I think they're just making this thing look
a little
dirty.
bit difficult and messy for no reason.
Yeah.
It can be worked out. It's been done before, it can be done again. And it's clear that the need is there. So what are we doing?
Tell us.
People have been arrested. I'm telling you, it's like the panacea for any kind of wrongdoing. Arrest them and put them in jail. So immigration passports we cannot get. DCI comes in and says, you know what, 4 of you, we're suspecting you. Come and talk to us. Detectives from the DCI Friday arrested 4 suspects on the ongoing crackdown on corrupt officials at the Immigration Department. Josephat Hamadi Manyoni, Howard Simbaji, alias Button, like Button.
Kifungo.
Ahmed Ibrahim Sheikh and Hassan Mohammed Hosman also had their mobile phones confiscated for analysis. The 4 are alleged to be brokers who hang around immigration offices in Nairobi, soliciting bribes from Kenyans in cahoots with officials. Okay, hold on. Even before I go further, these gentlemen, they don't stand around the street and then make the passport right there where they are. See, obviously they take it to somebody. So the people that they take it to, are they also going to have a word with? Are they going to have a word with them as well?
The beneficiaries of this thing.
No, the people who are making the thing. So you have brokers in the streets, isn't it? You take a broker comes, talks to Eric, says, I can do your thing for you, bring so much. Don't you take it somewhere for it to be done?
There's an official who works at the immigration department who colludes with you. Now they are going to be made to sing like a canary, and they will give a list
of the people inside,
of their collaborators,
as though they do not know. They have been detained at the Central Police Station pending their arraignment on charges of preparing to commit a crime and conspiracy to defraud. The arrests come ahead of an impending shakeup that is expected to rid the department of corrupt cartels. Okay. A network of brokers is said to be helping corrupt immigration officials to collect money from desperate Kenyans seeking to speed up their passport applications. These are some of the criminal activities that have been blamed for a backlog of unprocessed passports that currently stands at 58,000. The department has increased staff to help clear the backlog by processing at least 5,000 passports a day, and has set up a special counter for emergency applications. The ongoing crackdown follows an admission by Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki that corruption was deeply entrenched in immigration offices.
How deep is it if it's 4 people? Four is just the beginning.
Maybe it's just top layer, We are coming.
Please, Kithure, please.
Stop it.
Please.
Stop. He said, this might make you even happier. We are going to clean Nyeri House of corruption and all sorts of crimes. There are good officers there who are serving the country very patriotically, but there are a few who are the problem, who are collecting bribes and harassing the people of Kenya. So we're going to do what?
Did they break down the machine?
They do what?
These 4 people, plus those rogue people inside there, did they break down the machine?
No.
Are we saying that they sabotaged and the machine that should be printing broke down? Because we've been told by none other than the CS himself, the backlog is because of one machine breaking down, and we are trying to look for new machines and extra machines. So did those people break down that machine?
They said that
those people block the procurement of a new machine on time, or the servicing of that machine on time? Are you saying that they sabotage the operations of?
They're saying that they contribute towards the slowing down of processing of passports because they're taking up time that could be used for,
Yes, they do. I mean, they're participating in a corruption that you have facilitated by not doing the job that you're supposed to be doing, which is making sure that the machines are working, that this system is efficient. Can you deal with the deep rot? This is what is going to happen to this story. We've arrested 4 people, they'll be taken to court, and you see now we are cracking down at immigration.
We're increasing the number of staff.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we have a private investor now who has brought in a machine, and we are leasing it from him, and we are printing machines now, and then there's like a 5 bob that's going to that guy. So
till now, nobody has answered the question about what the problem is with the machine and whether it can be fixed or whether you need to buy a whole new machine.
And why it took so long to make this decision that they're making now. If the decision that they're making now was to let's get a new machine, let's lease a machine, why didn't you do it earlier? What is it? What's the issue here? Come on. I'm still on this case of Kithure Kindiki's. You've got very many questions to answer. There is immigration that is just an issue here. We have Shakahola, where fresh bodies are being exhumed. 6 months after you blocked that place out and said this is a security zone, why are fresh bodies being exhumed? What happens in this operation?
Clarify that bodies that have been exhumed had been buried within the time that Mackenzie was in jail.
And police were on site.
What's going on?
And why is it taking 6 months, 6 long months to do this operation of exhumation? Surely. And so far we've done what? 400 bodies?
Yeah, 450 something. 458.
Why? Why is this thing going on?
So long?
Why is it going on just for so long? Why?
And other things cannot move as a result of that. And then they are fresh bodies now.
Hapana. Ni mambo ni tatu. Utupatie majibu, ama uhame ofisi, ama Sayuri. Well, keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. We'll be discussing many things. One, we want to start with the issue of land. Land is a crisis in this country. People are talking about the land registry. People are talking about when you go and buy a piece of land, then you realize there was no piece of land. There was no even paper.
Just air.
Yeah. A lawyer joins us. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Wasakisha residents who claim to have been defrauded by First Choice Recruitment Agency narrated their experience before the Senate Labour and Social Welfare Committee. The job seekers say they were allegedly swindled by the agency, which had promised them 6 months contract jobs in Qatar during the 2022 FIFA World Cup. The residents said they paid thousands of shillings to the Judy Chepchirchir-led company to secure placement for various job opportunities overseas, only for them to be taken round in circles.
That she's recruiting people. Somebody was calling that Judith is directing people to go to Vandaptai, the City Plaza. On arriving there, they were told to go to their office. And they are paying registration fee of non-refundable of 8,000. You terminate the contract of World Cup, Qatar, pay another 8,000. Non-refundable, 5,000 medical non-refundable, 4,500 non-refundable for visa, and 1,500 to speed. That is corruption. To us, then your visa.
At the same time, Judith and her two lawyers were kicked out of the Senate after they refused to apologize for claiming that the committee was taking the petitioner's side.
It is very simple. Our standing orders, even yesterday I was thrown out. It is very simple. You just say, I wish to withdraw this letter, and apologize. That's what even CS Ababu, I've used even a simple example, where Ababu Namwamba wrote to the speaker told him, you cannot write to parliament, and he withdrew and apologized. So if the council and respondent don't want to apologize, we throw them out, we proceed with our meeting, then the committee retreats and then write their report. Simple. So council.
Honorable Chair, our position still remains. In terms of an apology, that would be an attack.
That ends it there. So, they can be withdrawn. They can be withdrawn.
Judith is at the center of an alleged dubious overseas job scandal in which over 10,000 unsuspecting youth paid at the agency monies ranging between 150,000 and 500,000 shillings to enable them study in Poland, Canada and Australia. Now, the bipartisan talk teams appointed by the Azimio la Umoja and Kenya Kwanza coalitions to end political impasse have agreed to let the IEBC selection panel continue with its work without interference as the negotiations on other pending issues continue. The team said the agreement will allow the country to move on without tension.
We indeed have made tremendous progress. Wahenga ndio alisema ukiona vyaelea ujue vimeundwa. So a lot of work has been done. Ndio sasa vitu vimeanza kuelea. And we want to encourage Kenyans to continue to have faith in this team.
The committee says it is ready to hit the road running and find solutions to political issues bedeviling the country, which often result in strife after the election. Now, a petition has been filed seeking to have the court declare the National Assembly not properly constituted. According to the petition, in the absence of a member of parliament for Banisa constituency, then the National Assembly cannot transact business. The petitioner Brian Higgins Mbugwa, through lawyer Adrian Kamotho, says that failure by the respondents to carry out the by-election within the mandated timelines, the people of Banisa constituency have been deprived of a person of their choice to represent their interest in the National Assembly in line with Articles 94 and 95 of the Constitution. And Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Lahomich has welcomed the move by the Cabinet to give the green light to a series of transformative health bills under the Visionary Bottom-up Economic Transformation Agenda. The 4 bills are the Primary Healthcare Bill, the Social Health Insurance Bill, the Digital Health Bill, and the Facility Improvement Financing Bill. The CS says the bills set to be presented to Parliament represent Kenya's resolute dedication to enhancing healthcare access and quality for all citizens. And stakeholders in the healthcare system are calling for the adoption of integrated care model to enhance the country's capacity to address the challenge posed by HIV and non-communicable diseases. A panel of experts at the ongoing Maisha conference in Mombasa submitted that an integrated approach to HIV and non-communicable diseases care model offers the potential of strengthening disease control programs in Kenya. According to Dr. Lazarus Mawani of the National AIDS and STI Control Program, there is an increasing cohort of people above 50 years living with HIV, with 27% of the 1.3 million on treatment within this group. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
Okay, so that movement on Magadi Road still continues today, looking at a likely spillover towards Langata Road. We're going to keep an eye on that and see what happens. We're seeing movement on Langata Road then going towards Raila Odinga Way and then into the CBD, touching on Uhuru Highway a little bit. Jogo Road is busy, going towards Landis. Movement on the Thika Superhighway right around the Pangani underpass, and it's quite busy on Kangunda Road this morning, just past Mama Lucy Hospital out towards the city. All right, looking at traffic coming up the northern bypass as well. A little bit here and there going towards Limuru Road. We'll likely see more of that coming closer to traffic hour. Spice FM KE on X, talk to us there, and let's keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to...
Second half of The Situation Room. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation on this final day of August this year, 31st, and it's just like that. It's Thursday. Tomorrow, we get into a new month, Kasonge. Shortly, it'll be December. Shortly, 2024. Shortly, 2027, and like that, we move. We move. Thank you very much for joining us, those who are joining us now live on KTN Home. We've been here since 6 a.m. and we're here until 10 a.m. CT was busy. Monday, Tuesday, busy. Oh, kumbe that blackout of the knee, he forgot the small pin charger. So...
he needed to go set it up.
So he needed to go and now buy a new charger. So... he's gotten tired out of that very, very busy couple of days. He said, let me just chill.
We'll take a minute.
Yeah, today and tomorrow, let me just chill. So he's chilling today and tomorrow. He'll be back next week. We have a guest joining us in the studio. Kipkoech Ngetich is an advocate of the High Court. He is a land lawyer. Not that he represents land in cases in court. He represents people, I'm assuming, and companies and entities that deal with land. Good morning, Wakili.
Good morning to you, Eric Latiff and Okoh, and all the viewers of Spice FM.
Karibu sana to the hot seat. That's the hot seat of the Situation Room. How is it? Comfortable?
Yes, so far so good.
Very good. Very good. We want to talk about the land is basically an emotive subject in this country. And I'm sure you've litigated very many cases that just are diverse, from people being defrauded outright, from double allocation of pieces of land, maybe in other cases where people come and each of them has a genuine title deed and all those things. And then lately we've been seeing matters of leases expiring and the current leaseholders being unaware of things that have happened at the registry and leases being transferred to other people. Big issues. But Karibu, let me welcome you with the day's proverb. This week's proverbs are from South Africa. And today's proverb says, a grave is not dug until a person is dead.
Nice, really.
Sounds obvious, doesn't it? I mean, it's like, but duh. A grave is not dug until a person is dead. But what do you think it means? The deeper meaning.
Thank you very much. It would appear to me like that is a proverb which has two meanings. The easy meaning is that in most African situations, you would have to wait for somebody. You don't anticipate death. That appears to be the deeper meaning. And I think that is what most African states, that is what most African personalities would do. You do not anticipate your death. You serve until the Lord comes for you. The other deeper meaning would mean that matters of life, matters of when you're going to serve your tour of duty in this world, are issues beyond you. That appears to me to be the deeper meaning, that is the deeper impression of that proverb. And therefore, if these are issues that are beyond you, then you do not have any business trying to stave off or trying to overdo yourself. Thank you.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
Yep. I didn't see that meaning there.
Yeah.
No, there it is.
There it is. It's a good one. When someone says you're a land lawyer, what do you mean exactly?
Thank you very much. Lawyers in this country, generally with a degree in law, are trained on matters of how to deal with land, how to secure the interests of landowners, and how to ensure that there are clients, how to ensure that transactions on land are secure. At the another level, you may decide as a practitioner to pursue knowledge, to pursue practice, to concentrate on matters of land. If you decide to practice on matters of land, you're going to court on matters of land, you're concentrating in conveyancing, concentrating in ensuring that purchasers of land have secured their titles, banks have secured their interests, then you may qualify as a land lawyer out of practice. There are those people who, instead of concentrating on practice of land matters to become land lawyers, may also decide to take up teaching land law in the university, in colleges and other institutions, so that every morning, every evening, every afternoon, they are teaching, they are researching on matters of land. So I think there are two perspectives of telling who is a land lawyer. This is a person who concentrates in the practice of law in the strict sense, in what he does every morning, every afternoon, every evening, or by way of teaching and researching more on land law. I am the first one. I practice a lot of land law in my litigation, in cases that I file and prosecute in court, and what I do for my clients, I do a lot of land law, and therefore I qualify to be a land lawyer.
What kind of cases would present themselves then that needed to be adjudicated in the court of law? What kinds of things are we looking at that would arise in some kind of conflict?
Thank you very much. A lot of times, and this is the situation now in the Environment and Land Court in Kenya, a lot of times we have matters to do with ownership. These are the bulk of cases, these are the heavy cases that deal with land. For example, you might find a situation where somebody is saying, I bought this land, I purchased this land, I paid, we did a sale agreement, but if it's an agricultural land in Kenya, for example, there are a number of requirements that you are supposed to meet. Number one, you need to ensure that if you're purchasing land, let's say, for example, in Machakos, if you're purchasing land, let's say, for example, in Kajiado, before it's transferred to you, even after the sale agreement has been done, even after you've paid, you're supposed to secure consent from the Land Control Board. Upon securing the consent from the Land Control Board, the law requires that you pay what we call duty, and specifically stamp duty, so that the land registrar may then proceed and do a title in your name. That is what has been litigated on 100 times to the Court of Appeal in this country. And if you look at these cases that are before the court, you find situations where people purchased land, they paid, they did a sale agreement, but they didn't get a consent from the Land Control Board and never paid stamp duty, and therefore they didn't secure titles, and therefore they will not be treated in law as landowners because they never completed the process and are not therefore owners of those lands. They go to court, and most of the times they would be told you didn't get consent, you did not pay stamp duty, and therefore you did not acquire land, and that is not your land. That is number one for agricultural land. If you want to acquire a plot in Nairobi, for example, over and above what I have said, doing a sale agreement and paying the seller, you're also supposed to get consent from the chief land registrar. You're supposed to pay stamp duty again. And this is so fundamental because every time a court of law, particularly environment and land court, is dealing with matters of purchase and ownership of land, they would want to know if you got a consent from the for purposes of commercial plots, if you got a consent from the chief land registrar and or the land registrar for that matter, and if you paid stamp duty. Stamp duty is so fundamental because it's not only a requirement of law, but it's also a source of income to the government of Kenya. If you don't acquire that, you will not get a title. If you acquire a title, the title may be nullified for being procedurally and substantively wanting. Yes.
This consent from the chief land registrar, in what form does it come?
A consent is in form of what looks like a letter, a very simple letter. It is not wordy. It has very few words, but it has the signature of the land registrar of the respective district of land administration. We have what we call the district land registrars in various parts of the country. If you're in Machakos, if you're in Kajiado, there is a land registry. The person heading such a registry is called the district land registrar.
So you must have that, and then the title now will also be in your name.
Yes, that is the only way.
So those are two separate documents.
Those are two separate. Those are the consent from the land registrar. Previously, it used to be from the Commissioner of Lands, is separate from the consent from the Land Control Board. A lot of times, the consent from the Land Control Board, and this applies only to agricultural land, is normally signed by the Assistant County Commissioner or signed by the Deputy County Commissioner, who is the de facto chair of Land Control Board.
That's a former DO.
Yes, an Assistant County Commissioner is the former DO. The Deputy County Commissioner is the former DC. Yes.
So what kind of problems are we looking at in Kenya today? Then when it comes to, you talk about this stamp duty paid or not paid. You talk about then acquisition of land that could have belonged to you at some point and then went into the ownership of somebody else. But across board, what are some of the problems now that lead to some of these cases that we see?
Thank you very much. The problems that we have in the land sector, truly speaking, are elephant. I would say they are mammoth. In fact, today, and in the agrarian society, in the society where we come from, most of us grew up knowing that the investments that you invest in are livestock. If you're lucky and you have slightly more money, the next level of investment is in land, and then you move to plots. Kenyans have generally refused to move away from livestock, land, and plots. Not so many of us would want to consider shares in stock exchange, consider deposits in SACCOs, and therefore we have all retreated to land. And today, as we're talking, land in Kenya are matters of do and die. I mean, do or die. If you do not have land, you consider yourself as a dying person. If you have land, you have to fight for it because of these problems that I'm going to explain. Number one is that in Kenya today, we have a situation at the lands offices where land registrars, in collusion with land cartels in this country, and I could quote a litany of examples, are creating duplicate registers. Eric Latiff owns a title in Kitengela, for example. You go to the registry in Kajiado, and you find that your title is reflected in the register. If it's a plot, for that matter, we would call it the white card. That is the register of your documentation. That is what captures all the transactions leading to your title. But because, as I've said, matters of land are do or die. Those who don't have are dying to have them. Those who do not those who do not have are dying to have them. Those who have these parcels of land are also dying to protect them. So the situation is that you have your title. You probably you've fenced your parcel of land in Kitengela, but you've not developed overnight. My good sister here, because she's taller and networked, approaches the same lands. Another register is created and a title issued and even backdated. Subsequently, your register is destroyed. So that when tomorrow you go and do a search, it will come blank and you will be told, sorry, Mr. Latiff, we do not have a record of this title. We do not know you. Meanwhile, my sister here would be constructing, doing up a 10-story building, which is coming up very swiftly. You rush to court. When you rush to court with a copy of your title and maybe a search which was done in the year 2020, she comes flashing not only a title, a certificate of lease, and a search, but also a copy of the white card. And the land registrar would swear an affidavit and say she's the owner. She's the owner of this land. What then happens subsequently? Land Registration Act of 2012 says that evidence from the land registrar is conclusive evidence of ownership of land. So who loses? Eric Latiff certainly loses the parcel of land, and that is the situation that we have in this country, and it's a very sad situation.
But don't we have chronology? I mean, is it only the white paper that shows the history of this particular piece of land? Wouldn't there be anything else that shows before Ndu purportedly bought this piece of land, this was the owner previously? And this is how the land was demarcated. Kitengela was then 50 by 100s 30 years ago. It was bigger pieces of land. How did this land change from agricultural land to commercial land? How was it subdivided into 50 by 100s? How did Ndu acquire the 50 by 100? Isn't there a record?
Thank you very much. You ask a very valid question. We're talking about cartels, and though it is used figuratively, politically, to mean imaginary enemies, as a land lawyer, I would tell you cartels are people, very powerful people. If they are not high up there in government, they are closer to the big people in government. You would have the history, and as a practitioner in this field, there are so many areas where you can trace the history. For example, you can go to the director of surveys and you call for the initial registry index map. The registry index map would show when this title was created for the very first time. But these cartels are able to manipulate the director of surveys, and that map again is destroyed. You would also have evidence of payment of rates if you are within the municipality or if you are within the city. You go to the county government of Nairobi rate section, and you would have a record of how you've been paying rates for the longest time, and this would be evidence that you've been asserting for your ownership. But then again, as has happened in the past, it can be destroyed. You could still go to Kenya Revenue Authority and trace the moment you paid stamp duty, and you may want to know when Madam Ndu paid for a stamp duty, which would have happened later. But we are in a situation where we're relying on manual documents, and that is why I think digitization may help us if it is not arrested by cartels. So historically, it is very easy to trace your ownership. But I'm talking about people who are networked and people who are able to destroy multifaceted documentation that would help you. We wouldn't be having a problem in this country if our institutions were functioning optimally. Let them, forget about them performing excellently, just functioning optimally, because you would go here, you would get history of what you've been paying. You would have a history of when the registry index map was issued, but these documents are destroyed. And you would find a person who acquired land in 1992 helpless and looking as useless as it can be because we have systems that are not functioning in the country.
So what is the recourse? Because, I mean, there must be something. If we're talking about individuals who, for me, I guess the laws of nature, you might lose a document. You might go on one day and the equipment is not working, and then you do not have proof of ownership. And you've already said that, it's difficult in terms of what's happening because it could be heavy-handed individuals who are on the other side of this. So what is the recourse for these individuals who genuinely they own this land? Genuinely it is theirs, but for some reason or another they do not have the documentation to show it, even if according to the law, documentation is ownership. How do you help? How do these individuals get help?
Thank you very much. The first station, the first port of call to be assisted is to sue the government for compensation. If you have a copy of the title and you have a search, that shows that at some point in time you conducted an investigation and the search showed that you own this land. Under the Land Registration Act, Section 26. Yeah. And previously, the Registered Land Act, Cap 300, which has since been repealed, you could very easily sue the government and get compensation. Of course, as to whether you will get that compensation from the government, whether it's 10 million, 20 million, or 50 million sooner, is a different thing altogether. Because when you sue government, it's like you're opening a can of worms. It will take you several kilometers. It will take you several struggles for the government to be compensated. But one option really, if the government was functioning, would be to get compensation from the government. That is option number one. Option number two, and this is doable, I have tried it before, is to go the direction Mr. Latiff was talking about. Number one, go to the registry index map at the Director of Surveys. When was it opened? In whose name was the mutation done? You go to the rating offices in the respective county governments, and it would be shown clearly that you've been paying rates. You could still go to the Ministry of Lands and show that I paid stamp duty several years. So it's not a difficult task to prove. The only problem is if these cartels decide that they will make sure that Ndu is done and done completely, and they go into these offices.
Like
and,
Ndu could go to heaven.
Yes, I hear nowadays that going to heaven is an option of resolving problems. So it's something that is possible to be resolved. It's resolvable. The only problem is that it would require quite some resources. Litigation in court against the government, or going to offices, camping in offices. And I would say, Latiff and Madam Ndu, that our offices in this country have to be pushed. Thank you.
Sounds like there's no recourse.
Yeah. So there is no recourse. There's nothing you can do. Because if you had previously told us that documentation is, according to the law, documentation is proof of ownership.
At the land registry.
At the land registry, if I have documentation, that shows that I am the owner. But we also know from what you've said that it's possible that somebody could have stolen your title, it could have been lost, but you're not able to prove that. So if you have the short end of the stick, you have the short end of the stick. There's nothing you can do.
And in fact, you'll be labeled the one who's trying to steal this piece of land.
Yeah.
Indeed, the situation as it were is very dire. I am banking on the digitization that is ongoing.
Okay.
But then again, as I have said, there's one thing that we need to do, and I think this is going to be the silver bullet. We go for fraudsters who are outside government. We deal with people who forge documents who are out there. We deal with land grabbers who are out there. We have never dealt decisively with government officers who collude to destroy maps, to destroy registers at the Ministry of Lands. We need to deal with these people a little bit ferociously.
Just as harshly.
Yes,
In fact, those ones, you don't give them the first two options. Third option only.
You give them the third option, yes. And we are quoting a very serious authority on this. The third option is coming from the highest authority in the land. Yes.
The Survey of Kenya. Right, when we talk about land, we only just think of the land registry, but we also do not many times think about the Survey of Kenya and the importance of the surveys and the maps that the Survey of Kenya holds. Just tell us briefly about that and how important they are.
Thank you very much, Latiff and Madam Ndu. The Directorate of Survey is very, very important. And the other day, the Law Society of Kenya, Institute of Surveyors of Kenya, Kenya Bankers Association, and the Ministry of Lands had a memorandum on matters of georeferencing. If there is no survey that has been done in this country, there is no land. I mean, you can't own any land. Before a title is issued, there has to be a survey. There has to be specification on where this parcel of land is. And I tell my clients every day that before you purchase a parcel of land, get a surveyor, go to the ground, purchase registry index map from the Directorate of Survey. Let the beacons be identified on the ground. Let the surveyor try to imagine out where this parcel of land is. And once that has been done, then for sure you know that the parcel of land is there. So before you start imagining that you can acquire a parcel of land, you have to engage a surveyor. That is a professional who deals with the land on the ground. It's extremely important. So matters of georeferencing, matters of mutation, matters of survey, matters of registry index maps are extremely important for any person who wants to invest in land as a homeowner or as a person who deals in land. So to the listeners of Spice FM this morning, before you purchase any land, make sure you have a professional surveyor who would go to the ground, inspect the parcel of land that you intend to purchase, pick out the beacons. If the beacons are not there, then ensure that they are fixed. If the land has never been surveyed, it means there is no land. And that is as easy as it can be. And
you realize that many people buy land, just on paper. So this land buying company has gone to Malindi, it has bought 40 acres of land, it's subdividing and it's selling plots. They have serviced them. There's steamer iko barabara ya maram, and there's access road. And in fact, you know what, there's a police station that's nearby. So I mean, it's a very good place. And the future plans for this road is there's going to be a road that comes through this area. And people buy land. Are you saying that each of these people who intend to buy a plot and pay over 10 installments of 100,000 shillings each should first of all take a surveyor down to that piece of land, wherever? Because now we are buying land. We are sitting here and we are buying land in Mararal.
Thank you very much, Latiff. I think it's extremely important. And I think listeners and viewers ought to understand this. Number one, this marketing that is being done on the media is very good. It's only good to the extent that the person who is marketing wants to do quick sales. But if you are a person who wants to purchase a parcel of land, if you want to invest in a retirement home, and that is where most of us are headed to, the first thing you must do is to request for a copy of the parent title. Whether the advertisements that are being done are glamorous, whether they are mouth-watering, whatever they could be, make sure that you have a copy of the parent title. Conduct an official search. Nowadays in Nairobi, you do it digitally. If you're outside Nairobi, do an official search at the Ministry of Lands, that is at the houses in the respective counties. That is number one. Let a surveyor subsequently conduct a search on the ground to ensure that what is in the title, because sometimes somebody brandishes a title. Yes, sometimes you're brandishing a title and telling people this parcel of land is in Machakos, but when you go to the ground, you discover that it is on top of another parcel of land with a different number. That is to say, you're purchasing the airspace, and the airspace somewhere up there does not belong to an individual. It belongs to the government, and above the government, I think, is probably God.
Let's take a break. 27 minutes to 8. It's Thursday, the 31st day of August, 2023. Our Justice Thursday conversation today is on matters land and law. Land advocate Kip Koech is our guest. And just listen keenly and make sure that you're careful. Meanwhile, let's prepare for the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. It's coming back this year.
Yes, it is. It's Kenya's largest single-day athletics event, and it's back this October for the 20th edition of the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. Are you running? Are you getting ready for this event? It's on the 29th of October, and 20 years of running will be celebrated. Imagine 20 years, every year since 20 years ago. there has been an opportunity for you to come out, register and run, and it goes for a good cause. All proceeds this year go towards the Future Makers program. It helps young people, especially girls and people living with disability, to learn, earn and grow. How do you do this? You register with 2,000 shillings at www.nairobimarathon.com.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
So who's a hustler? Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
Windows
sleep inside.
up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Cloudy and rainy conditions in Nairobi, highs of 23 and lows of 14. It's partly cloudy in Nakuru and we'll see highs of 25 and lows of 14. 22 will be the high in a mostly cloudy Nyeri, down to lows of 14. And 11 will be the low in a partly cloudy Eldoret, going to highs of 22. It's partly cloudy at 23 in Mombasa, highs of 29. And Malindi will see highs of 29, where it's partly cloudy at 24. It's 18 and clear in Kisumu, highs of 29. And we'll see highs of 28 in a clear Kakamega at 16. 18 and cloudy in Kampala, highs of 28, and Dar es Salaam will see highs of 29 and lows of 22. It's 9 degrees and cloudy in Johannesburg, highs of 21, and we'll see highs of 30 in a cloudy Lagos at 25. At 23, Kinshasa is cloudy, highs of 31 and lows of 21.
Spice up your life.
So we're getting into traffic hour, looking at a bit of movement that we hadn't seen before. Coming off of Thika Superhighway still is all right for now for folks. Today, Magadi Road, extremely busy, then seeping on over to Langata Road at the Southern Bypass Junction, and then out towards the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. That is where the busiest of it is. There's a network of activity when you're coming in from Limuru Road, Wayaki Way, Uhuru Highway, Gong Road, Jogo Road, the Thika Superhighway, and then coming off of Mombasa Road. So all of that is finding its way into the middle of the city. That's what may cause traffic. But apart from that, Thursday is not looking to be so bad in terms of traffic. Hopefully we can keep it that way. Talk to us on Spice FM KE on X.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
It's with Advocate Kipkoech Ngetich. He is a land lawyer. We are talking about land matters on this Justice Thursday, getting to understand the issues of land and how you purchase and how you maintain your land. Now, this country, if you start from Nairobi, head in whatever direction, head up towards Ngong, head towards Suswa, 50 by 100s are being sold. Head towards Thika Road, between here and I think all the way to Maralal, even beyond. They are selling 50 by 100s. Down the road to Nakuru, it's all being subdivided into these small commercial plots and they are being sold. Is this right? Is this procedural? Is there anything unlawful about it?
Thank you. I started by saying that land is a good investment, and I think historically and traditionally Kenyans were taught that if you do not own land, then you are not a serious person. But I do not know who lied to Kenyans that if you do not own 50 by 100, even down there in agricultural lands, you are a miserable person. If you want to purchase a plot, and we're talking about an agricultural land, for example, 50 by 100, the law requires that before the subdivision is done, you must get consent from the Land Control Board. But that is not sufficient. You're also supposed to go through the process of physical planning, where the physical planner in the respective county goes through the previous regulations on whether on a certain area land can be subdivided, agricultural land can be subdivided further onto 50 by 100, onto 40 by 80, and such smaller subdivisions. There is a problem there. And I think Kenyans ought to know that if you want to purchase a plot in an agricultural land, you must get consent from the Land Control Board to transfer the land to yourself, number one, and for subdivision to be done, number two, and number three, you must go through the process of physical planning, because the way planning is supposed to be done is to ensure that agricultural land remains as large as it can be for purposes of ensuring that we have optimal production. So that subdividing agricultural land into 50 by 100 and then bringing up several houses and making it to be an estate, that is a high-density residential area, is against physical planning laws, and it runs afoul the law, and there is a big problem there. And something has to be done. I think the problem that we have, Madam Du and Latiff, is that in this country, developments precede planning. Essentially, when you look at the Physical Planning Act, physical planning is supposed to go ahead of development.
Everything.
I want to ask a follow-up question to this. One, who's the custodian of the physical planning in every county? And number two, who sits on the Land Control Board?
Thank you very much. The custodian of the physical planning plans is at the national level, and it's at the county level. We've come up with a new act after the 2010 Constitution. I think that is the Physical Planning Act of 2012, which provides also in every county there is a county physical planning committee, which is headed by the county physical planner. At the national level, we have the National Physical Planner. We have the Office of the Physical Planner, the national office that superintends all the physical planning that is done in the country. That does not necessarily mean that the national office supervises what happens at the county level, because the county level is more exposed and it interacts very closely with what happens in the county. The problem as it is, and as I have said, is that in Kenya, things are done, development is done, and then physical planning follows several years later, if it ever happens. And as I have said, I know of a town in this country, in one of the biggest constituencies, one of the most productive constituencies, where the entire town, with very good developments, with serious people in this country investing in it, sits on an agricultural land. It is very sad. And I think and
they own plots.
People own plots. I know several people who own plots in terms of allotment letters.
Legally?
It can be legally, because there has not been any physical planning to convert agricultural land into commercial land. Yes, what they own really is letters of allotment, which in law is nothing. An allotment letter is an intention to give land.
Okay.
Yes.
Agricultural land used for farming, whether that be plant or animal farming, right?
Yes.
In order for agricultural land to then be deemed as commercial land, there's a process that must take place, right? Will the surveying aspect come into this again?
Yes.
Okay.
The surveying aspect is very important, because once you convert an agricultural land into a commercial parcel of land, or you convert it into high-density residential area or low-density residential area, you need to go through a process. One of the processes is that you need to advertise so that people within certain area knows that this parcel of land is going to be converted into a commercial land. The change of user is going to be done, and that is why I think in the newspapers a lot of times you see change of users by land and physical planning in respective counties.
Okay.
Unfortunately, of course, as I have said, this is a problem that follows development instead of development following planning.
Okay. So now that this land has been turned, because just as an example, now that this land has turned into commercial land by value of the fact that, the letter has been done and this has taken place, then this individual can go ahead and, construct, do whatever they need to do, if it's homes, apartments, whatever. Can they?
They cannot.
Why?
They cannot because, number one, before development plans are approved, you need to demonstrate that there has been a change of user from agricultural land to commercial.
But haven't you done that by virtue of this survey having taken place and then the letter then been granted? Has that process not taken place?
It is a mishmash of issues, Ndu. It's a very sad situation because, as I have said, previously, before the 2010 constitution, you would go into the town council, you go through the committee on planning. The committee on planning, because of challenges over here and there, would not know that you're supposed to go through change of use. They would just approve your development plans. You bring up a building, 2-story, 3 building. There's no change of use there. This has not been subjected to the physical planning committee. It has not been subjected to the law. Even the parcel of land itself is still agricultural, and then you may decide to issue allotment letters to people on top of an agricultural land, because once a parcel of land is converted into a commercial in a town, it should be converted from a freehold to a certificate of lease. It should be converted into a lease. Allotment letters issued subsequently should be subjected to survey, and the map should be amended. But I would shock you by telling you that you would find that the map is still intact at the Directorate of Surveys, but you would find buildings on the ground and people who have papers for allotment letters, and I would describe them as just that, papers. But the good thing is that nobody is enforcing the law, and for as long as we are not enforcing the law, we would remain as such.
So that's my next question now. So what if you had, law-wielding, gunslinging individual who then came in terms of government and decided to enforce the law? What you're saying now is that thousands upon thousands of buildings could actually come down if that law was enforced. And the only reason why they are still standing today, or the only reason why individuals have not been reprimanding, take that as far as you want, is because the law is not being enforced.
Indeed, if the government of the day was to decide to enforce the physical planning laws, several developments in this country would come down. We're talking about property in billions and trillions. I don't know whether the government of the day would be able to take such a direction. I don't know whether the government would be wiser to take such a direction politically, because the consequences would be very dire. You would bring down buildings. Actually would not do anything else. You would have to decide now that we are not working anymore. We are going to bring down developments because there's no compliance with physical planning regulations. There's no compliance with zoning regulations. And people have built massive structures on agricultural land as opposed to commercial land. The problem is not with the people. The problem is with government officers. And as I said, the day we will deal with government officers in this country as expected, the way government officers will comply with Chapter 6 and ensure that public service is a position of trust which you are supposed to deliver and execute for the benefit of the people and the country, that is the day this country will prosper. As it is today, we have a problem, and the problem is not just a problem, it is an elephant of a problem. It's a legend of a problem. You asked me the question of land control board. These land control boards sit at the county level or at the sub-county level. Most of the times, as by statute, they are chaired by the deputy county commissioner, or in each place an assistant county commissioner. Either it's the DC or the assistant county commissioner. And then you have representatives of the people who are gazetted by the Ministry of Lands. It's a committee of a number of people chaired by the administrative rank at the sub-county, or in some cases where it is centralized by the office of the county commissioner.
Who picks these representatives of the people?
The representatives of the people are picked by the Ministry of Lands, and they are subsequently gazetted by the
unilaterally.
Yes.
Is there a law that says that they must be residents of this sub-county if they're sitting in the sub-county control board?
Yes, the requirement is that these are people who ordinarily reside, and these are people who are sufficiently exposed. But there is no competitive recruitment of these people. There is no public participation. And I think, as far as I am concerned, the Land Control Board Act was repealed in 2012. The only problem is that there was supposed to be a gazettement bringing into effect the repeal of that act, because it does more harm than good to most people in this country. So we have a law which has been repealed, but the repeal has not been effected. So we have a law that is operating, yet it was supposed to have been prod down by way of gazettement.
Why was there a need to repeal this? Why are you against the control board?
What we needed to do was to have a comprehensive approach to matters of agricultural land, moving from agricultural to commercial, to low-density residential, high-density residential. I think land control boards had become ovens for corruption, where so long as you can facilitate something, approval to subdivide, approval to transfer would be given. They would never visit the parcel of land. The intention, and I think this is extremely important, Madam Du and Latiff, the intention of the Land Control Board Act was to ensure that agricultural land was not subdivided, was not fragmented into smaller pieces, making agricultural production in this country to be a nightmare. But what has it done? The Land Control Board has granted all the consents.
Which facilitated.
Yes, subdividing agricultural parcels of land to be plots that you are talking about, or 50 by 100, and then you find estates mushrooming in villages without drainage, a problem again of physical planning, a problem of the county governments and the municipal councils. Houses are mushrooming, there is no sewage, there is no water, there are no sufficient roads. Chaos, and this is the problem that we continue to perpetrate as a country.
Wakili, is this an issue of ignorance or is it an issue of criminality here? Because one could say very easily, look, I entered into an agreement, I was buying a piece of land and I felt that I could do whatever I wanted by virtue of the fact that the land now belongs to me. It could be an issue of ignorance. I mean, we're sitting here today and did not know that in order for land to change from an agricultural source to then a commercial source, that there's certain things that must happen, and then there's certain things that the law precludes you from doing. Is it possible that it is an issue of ignorance and not an issue of intent to do something wrong?
I would answer you straight. Kenyans are very knowledgeable people. This country is imbued with learned physical planners, and there are very many there everywhere. We have surveyors everywhere, we have land lawyers everywhere, we have valuers everywhere. Kenyans like shortcuts, and many of us are criminals. It's only that we do not say. We like to pray, we like to be seen to be worshipping on worship days, but deep inside us, I think the bulk of us are criminals, and I think we need to speak to ourselves and tell ourselves as Kenyans, let us stop this criminality, let us follow the law and have a country that is organized. And what I think needs to be done, and this is something that has never been done, the land sector is in chaos. The land sector in this country is chaotic, and I think the people who benefit are the people who are high up there, and their friends, and that is why they do not want to breathe sanity. The day we would decide that we want to breathe sanity in this country, you would find estates with very clearly demarcated roads. You would find estates which have good sewerage facilities or plan for the same. But today, as it is, if there was going to be an inferno in most of the estates in this country, a fire extinguisher would not find a way to go and extinguish fire. I think these are issues that you report on a daily basis. It's failure of planning, failure of government officers.
Lawyers such as yourself, I presume that you are among those who participated in the demonstration last year, demonstrated against artisans of the system. New system after a lot of work, digitization. Now we say, let's put our land registry onto this digital platform so it makes it easier for conveyancing, for dealing in land matters. But then you felt at the point that it was not functioning as it should. Has that improved?
Thank you very much. I want to say that the Law Society of Kenya, and I have served before as a council member for 4 years and branch chair for 2 years, supports digitization in this country 100%. What lawyers were raising and were challenging was a situation where the Ministry of Lands that time was undertaking a process, leaving behind critical stakeholders. And the demonstration was by the lawyers and the Institute of Surveyors of Kenya. We had our colleagues, our brothers and sisters from the Institute of Surveyors of Kenya, because they are also critical stakeholders. The problem was that a system was put in place, very little feedback, very little input from stakeholders, who even include the Kenya Bankers Association. As a result of which, the system was grounded. The system came down. You want to do a search, it takes forever. You want to register a security. Eric Latiff wants to take a loan with Commercial Bank of Africa of 50 million shillings to purchase to purchase a retirement home somewhere in Runda or in Kileleshwa. But you can't register it because the system is grounded. We pushed the Ministry of Lands, we pushed the PS, we pushed the minister. We even went to court about 3 years ago when Alan Gishu was the president of the Law Society of Kenya, and nothing happened, and that is why there was a demonstration. Today, as we speak, because of robust engagements with the Ministry of Lands, with the PS Lands, there have been some marked improvements, but we are not there as yet. Otherwise, digitization would help to stem fraud, forgery, and duplication of titles that I have mentioned. Even it would help to reduce destruction of documents, so long as we have very credible persons as the end users on the other side.
What would you say to somebody today who may be in this position and would want to do the right thing, would want to, take up the due diligence, maybe having bought a piece of land and has then converted it unbeknownst to them about what they ought to do? All right, criminal desires aside, and really says, okay, I did not know this, I want to be able to fix it. What would they do in that instance today?
Thank you, Madam Du. If you want to purchase a parcel of land today in Kenya, wherever it is, whether you're in Mombasa, whether you're in Turkana, whether you're in Sholo, whether you're in Mount Elgon, number one, go personally to the ground and do what we call a historical search. Speak to the village elder. Speak to the assistant chief. Speak to some family members. They would tell you that this parcel of land is disputed or is not disputed. That is number one. Try to do some investigations. That is a historical search, which is going to be extremely useful, because sometimes you might find that somebody has a title, but the parcel of land is owned by the entire family, and therefore it is disputed to the extent that it's not owned by the seller alone. That is number one. Number two, engage a surveyor. Let the surveyor go to the ground, pick the beacons, and try to fix the title on the map on the ground. The surveyor will tell you if the parcel of land exists on the ground or does not exist. And we have so many parcels of land in this country with titles,
in the air.
Yes, which are high up there. They do not exist on the ground. That is number two. Number three, go to the Ministry of Lands, conduct a search, an official search. If you're not satisfied with the search, you can request for a copy of the register, which is called a white card for leases, or a green card for freehold titles. If you do that, and you've involved a surveyor, and a proper sale agreement has been done, subsequently get consent. If it is a commercial plot, you get the consent from the land registrar. If it's an agricultural land, from the Land Control Board, and you pay stamp duty. Many Kenyans do not want to pay stamp duty. Make sure that at least something is paid for stamp duty, and you keep those documents, because chances are, barring any other calamity in this country, there might be a case subsequently. Of course, I pray that there would be no case. Have a file for the process you've undertaken, and you would be very safe.
Yeah.
Boy. Okay. Due diligence is a very, very important thing, and it's a very big thing to do. How do you know what areas have been demarcated for agriculture or commercial, and must you go to the land registry to find that out, or can you just tell?
It's very easy to tell that this is agricultural land. Generally, areas in town are commercial plots, generally places outside the municipality, outside the cities, are agricultural land. But in the event that you are in doubt, please visit the Ministry of Lands at the house, do a search, and the search will tell you whether this is a freehold or whether this is a lease. It's very easy to confirm officially, so that you do not need to belabor. If you can't confirm physically, then you do a search, and the nature of the title, the nature of the search will tell you that this is agricultural land, this is not. But because of development, because of physical planning which is ongoing, and county governments are now zoning areas which initially were agricultural parcels of land and to commercial plots and to town plots. It may also be good to visit the physical planning section at the counties, and they will tell you that this area, Kitengela, which was initially an agricultural land, is now a commercial plot. So this is something that would require some bit of due diligence, but it's not difficult to ascertain the true position.
Leases do expire, and they have a maximum age of 99 years, right? Now, as you keep transferring ownership from one owner to another, you're not starting from zero. you're continuing with the tenure of the lease. So what's the importance of making sure that you're buying, you know how much time you have on the lease that you've bought?
Thank you very much. When we talk about leases, it means that there is somebody who owns the better title. That is the leaseor. There is also somebody who owns the lease, and that is the person who's probably selling the parcel of land to you. So when you look at the title, when you look at the certificate of lease, when you look at the certificate of title, you can tell that this is freehold. You can tell that this is a certificate of lease. And most documents, most of the certificate of leases will tell you that this lease is supposed to run from this period of time to this other period of time. If you are in doubt, you get a copy of the white card, and it would guide you into the future. I think it's very important for us to get a copy of that. Once you've confirmed that this is a lease, and it has expired, or it's almost expiring, then don't be quick to purchase it, because in the event that it has expired, or in the event that it's probably expiring, the leaseor, that is maybe the county government of Machakos, or maybe the national government, may not want to transfer the parcel of land to you, may not want to give you the lease. So it's important for you to do due diligence, find out what is the remainder, what is the residue of the lease that you want to purchase.
Thank you very much. Koech Ngetich is a land lawyer. He's been here teaching us this morning on our Justice Thursday conversation about land matters. Keep it here for more conversations. Good morning, 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Residents of Wasingishu County who were deceived by the First Choice Agency company by promising them that it would find them jobs in Qatar, Poland, Italy and Canada are now claiming that they are being threatened by the director of the company, Judy Chepchirchir, using the name of President William Ruto. Some who appeared before the Senate Labour Committee explained that Judy has been telling them that she is a deep state, so there is nothing that they could do despite losing their hard-earned money. Sami Boire, a boda operator, says he had to sell his motorbike and also convince the family to sell a piece of land to make his sister's plan to go to work possible before the plan turned into a big scandal. He wants Chepchirchir to stop using the name of President William Ruto by threatening them frequently and to be responsible and pay them back their money.
Niko na hadi mwenye shamba ya baba yangu hapa. Nilidanganya wazazi mpaka wakauza shamba because we were promised green pastures by Judy. Alitupromise heaven and earth. Tulikuwa tumechanganyikiwa. Karibu tuuze hata mpaka watoto mpaka madugu yetu to raise funds.
I personally paid 40,400. My parents wanted to sell shamba. Mine ilikuwa ishamea, imefika flowering. Hata wakati alikuwa anasema ati ng'ombe you cannot sell at that price. I remember the cow which was sold. It was about 60 to 70.
Adda Sachanzuki say he had to pay up to 400,000 shillings in an effort to ensure that he gets a job abroad. According to him, despite passing the interview, he was never informed about the jobs. In addition, he says that after complaining, his name was listed as one of those who will be paid, but until now, he has not been compensated even a single shilling. Now, the technical committee for bipartisan talks is expected to meet today to address the issues that should be prioritized during the discussions before the committee's meeting officially begin tomorrow. Some of the agenda include the cost of living, creation of the office of opposition leader, as well as legally approving the office of prime cabinet secretary and formation of IEBC commissioners.
We have adjourned to Friday this week at 10 a.m. to allow the secretariat and the technical teams to work on prioritization of the issues and guide us on how we prioritize what issues do we begin with.
This after Kenya Kwanza and Azimio side signed the guidelines with the view of seeing the talk succeed. The guidelines were signed yesterday by Kalonzo Musyoka of Azimio and Kimani Ichung'wah of Kenya Kwanza. The committee has also said that its activities will not affect the process of the panel appointed by President William Ruto to investigate IEBC commissioners, despite the fact that the issue is one of their main agendas, saying that they will write to inform about their engagements.
On the question of whether we are able to stop the selection panel, we are not writing to them to stop doing their work. It's just to take what has been described by the Honorable Eugene Omaro in our meeting as judicial notice of the ongoings of this national dialogue team. And therefore, even as they progress their work, then they take note that it's part of the issues that we are engaging on.
You never know. You could end up with a reconstitution of the panel itself. You never know. Everything is on the table.
The committee has 60 days to prosecute the issues on the table. And churches have moved to self-regulate as the government undertakes a crackdown against rogue preachers and institutions in the country following the Shakahola massacre that has so far claimed 429 lives. Religious leaders, lawyers and human rights groups led by Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Chairperson Bishop Emeritus David Oginde launched the Code of Conduct and Governance Guidelines for the Church in Kenya in a bid to counter impending state-imposed regulations on religious institutions. A 12-member steering committee chaired by Bishop Oginde drafted the rules in a move by the churches to self-regulate as the government tightens the noose on rogue preachers in the country. And Senate Speaker has gazetted today for a special sitting for senators to consider the Climate Change Amendment Bill. The consideration of the bill set to be concluded ahead of the Africa Climate Summit to be held next week from September 4th to 8th in Nairobi. Kingi said the senators will also consider a motion on the alteration of the Senate calendar for the second session. The Africa Climate Summit is aimed at accelerating climate action solutions in Africa. The event will be attended by over 16,000 delegates and dignitaries, key among them several heads of states and ministers from the region and across the globe. Also to inform you that Standard Media Group has also jumped in this, and we are championing the conversation on Climate Summit. We will be bringing you 24-hour, 360 degrees coverage on matters climate change and what we need to do. I'm Dennis Acero. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, a few minutes after 8 o'clock. Traffic has not been too bad this morning. I think things have more or less settled down after kids went back to school and all things happening. But then again, this morning we're hit by a lot of traffic in the city centre. Whatever happened on Magadi Road this morning, still not quite sure what that is. I'm still asking for you guys to let us know. Traffic is moving ever so slowly, getting out towards the southern bypass, going in that direction, or then towards Langata Road. Then we see some traffic on Langata Road going out towards the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, and then also then towards Raila Odinga Way. Into the CBDs where most of it is happening right about Naivasha Road is busy, touching on Gong Road, and we also have some movement on Gitanga Road going out towards then Mzima Springs. Also looking at quite some coming in from the Thika Superhighway now. That has ballooned. And also this is Limuru Road, bumper to bumper, in and outbound, through everywhere. Let's keep an eye on things, guys, and see how this opens up. We're in Traffic Hour proper now. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on X.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
7 minutes past 8. Kenya's biggest conversation gets onto the third hour. Thank you very much for keeping it locked on Spice FM, on KTN Home, and online, YouTube and Facebook. Everybody who's following the conversation, even those that are catching up with this conversation 7 days after today, asanteni sana. You know you can actually do that. You just go onto our YouTube page. If you missed a conversation, you catch up on it. Or you like the conversation and you want to just follow it again because of what you heard. It was an interesting conversation. For example, this one on land matters, and you had the advocate, and you're thinking, wait, what did the lawyer say about a certain matter? You can go back onto YouTube and you will find the conversations. We have the full 4-hour show, and each hour is then cut into its own segment. You can follow the conversations. Titans of industry. So what we are doing now at the Standard Group is, in this bid to foster the culture of excellence in Kenya's corporate world, we're dedicating to showcasing and celebrating the exceptional achievements of leadership of Kenya's business community in this series that we'll be calling the Titans of Kenyan industry. We want to look at what they've done, what they're doing, their organizations, profiling what they do at work and what they are also all about and what drives them. One of the ones that we'll be having a conversation with is Kenneth Mbai. Kenneth has been here several times before. He is the CEO of Centum Real Estate. Good morning, Kenneth.
Good morning, Latiff.
Karibu sana to the hot seat of the situation. Now you're used to it.
Yeah, this is my second time. And it's warm.
Yeah, now you're used to this. This one now is easy.
Yes.
It's smooth sailing. Welcome. So we'll be talking about Centum Real Estate and the work that you've done. We, of course, know about the various projects across the country. You'll tell us about the future plans for Centum Real Estate and also what drives you as an organization and as the head of this organization. But let me welcome you with the day's proverb. The proverbs this week, courtesy of CT, are from South Africa. CT is away. He'll be back next week. And today's proverb says, a grave is not dug until a person is dead. A grave is not dug until a person is dead. Kind of obvious, isn't it?
Yes.
But then why do you think this is a proverb?
Okay, early in the morning with the context of grave is not a thought I had in mind.
It's a bit morbid, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think everything is done at a particular time and praise. And there's always people are prepared for what will happen at a given point in time.
There's a sequence of things.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't jump to stage 7 before you've done stage 3.
Yes.
Yeah. So you follow the sequence.
Yes.
Okay. That's a good one. There are many people who don't know about Centum Real Estate. So please introduce Centum Real Estate to the audience.
Thank you. Centum Real Estate is an investor and developer of real estate. We develop large-scale projects across East Africa. We've presence in 2 countries, Kenya and Uganda. We primarily focus on the affordable market segment. We've jointly handed over 1,000 units, and we have another 1,000 units under construction. We enable East Africans own homes in mixed-use developments with nice amenities where families, businesses, and communities can thrive. So we try and give world-class environments to Kenyans and East Africans in general. Yeah.
We've talked about some of your projects. We've talked about the Vipingo project in Kilifi County. We've talked about the housing projects in Kasarani, the housing project as well at 2 Rivers. And there are very many others, like you've said, mixed use. For example, in Vipingo, it's not just houses. It's bigger than that. What else is planned for Kilifi?
So we've done a proof of concept. We've gone to a county like Kilifi, done industrial, done commercial, and done residential. And there is huge demand from across the world in that market segment. So now we have an ambition to scale up and create a city. Just to give context, if you came to Nairobi in 2004 or prior years, and you went to Kitengela, or you went to Kamuru, or you went to Ngong, it would have been a bush back then.
Yep.
And no one anticipated there would be growth. So we've looked at Kilifi County and the metrics around Mombasa, and we can see there is demand for a town, a city that is properly planned with adequate infrastructure to to support the population growth and to support the urbanization there. So we'll have a properly organized, planned city that has all the facilities, a school, a hospital, communities of every kind, high-end, mid-market, and affordable segment, with schools and water from desalination. So you'll have all the utilities when you turn on your tap.
And the road is also being expanded.
Yes, and the section fronting our property is already done. We've seen a lot of Kenyans working from home, and they are supporting institutions across the world. So you work in Kirifi, but say you work for an American company and you're working from home. So you have a coastal setup, and if you're needed in Nairobi, you take a flight from Vipingo. If you're needed in Dubai or you're needed in the US, you fly to the US.
Indeed.
Yeah.
It's interesting that we're looking at, obviously I can see the commercial aspect, and that makes sense. I wonder, the areas that you've chosen to go into to develop, what has been the inspiration behind going to those particular areas?
So we've relied on data to make our decisions. If you look at let me give an example of Nairobi. If we go back to year 1999, the population was 2.1 million people. In 2019, as per the census, it was 4.5 million people. I believe today, if there was another census done, it's 5.3 million. In 2049, would be 10 million people. So the question is, with this population growth and urbanization, where will their bedrooms, where will their homes be?
Yeah.
So we want to house that population, and there is a fundamental market demand in rental housing, because that entire population must stay somewhere, and they must enjoy some amenities, and that is the market we are addressing. Then there is the financing of that market. So 2 days ago, I think 3 days ago, the SASRA, the Circle Regulatory Authority, released a report, and we're looking at that report. 33% of the loans they disburse go to housing and land acquisition. So there is demand in that segment, and there is money that is funding that. But that segment is a catalyst for economic development. There is employment and many other things that happen. Yeah.
You know, the last time you were here, you were still quoting data and using data to say this is how we actually make decisions at Centum Real Estate. Look at our data, look at projections. What's your background, Ken?
My background is science. I'm just a biochemist who is not building bodies. Now I'm building houses. But I think for any business to be sustainable, it must be based on data. I see the statistics when I speak to Standard Group. They say the viewership in Spice is maybe close to 1 million. So everyone is data.
Everyone thinks data.
Yes.
But more so scientists. How did you end up in real estate? I mean, what drove you into this sector?
So it was by chance. So after graduating, I got internship at Centum. And then we were doing rotations in various departments, finance and the rest. Research. I sort of ended up at real estate, and my boss then said, "You're not going anywhere else. You remain here." And I liked it, so I became passionate about it. Yeah, so it doesn't matter what you've done. Just prepare for an opportunity. You don't know when it comes your way. Yeah.
How have you been able to scale the challenges that come as a result of getting into a market where that is, so commercially heavy, so financially heavy? How you've been able to scale some of those challenges, whether it's on a personal level or a market level?
So you look at a market. Let's say you identify an opportunity or an underserved segment of the market. That, let's say, either housing or media or whatever market, transport or whatever market segment that is, it's underserved. So there is an opportunity to serve that market, and you do some numbers and see if we address this market need, then there'll be a sustainable business moving forward. You separate that opportunity with funding, because if you estimate the amount of funding required, then it may put you off from pursuing that opportunity. But the other thing is money. Capital is chasing good opportunities which are in shortage. So if you rank a good opportunity, capital will follow you. And then plus the credibility and track record, then that becomes a success. I think there will be challenges as you put together that, but you should not be afraid of the challenges. Maybe you should fall in love with the solution, not the challenges.
Very easily said. And actually, I like what you've said, that there is a lot of capital which is chasing after good opportunities, and those good opportunities are rare. Where is this capital? How do you identify it?
So there is let me use the SACCO report. Looking at that report, you can see the top areas where Kenyans are borrowing and saving is housing and education. So there is money from SACCO. If I look at banking, they are lending to real estate. There is money in that segment. If you look at government, they are focusing on housing. There is the levy.
Yes.
Yep.
If you look at diaspora remittances from the data in CBK, I think 25% of the money sent goes to housing and real estate. If you look at this market, there are many private equity funds that have raised money across the world to come and address the urbanization in Africa. So it's the same metrics that keeps flowing around. And I think even in media, transport, if I use like the vehicle manufacturing, you'll see there is asset financing from every segment. So if there is an opportunity, capital will follow that opportunity.
It's about identifying the opportunity, like you said, and then being gutsy enough to actually pursue that opportunity. Now, there are very many challenges that come, especially when it comes to the real estate sector in this country, right? It's awash with many people. Previously, we were having a conversation, or just this Thursday conversation, with a lawyer, a land lawyer, who was telling us about the need for due diligence. Now, we have a lot of developments that are taking place in this country, and some of them are questionable at best. How would you advise somebody who's thinking, okay, I want to venture into real estate, let's say as an investor, as a developer, or as a supplier of certain goods or technology? What is it that they should think about as they get into this?
It's a capital-intensive business. It's also tough to do, but in every challenge that is there is an opportunity. So first, in the land acquisition itself, the titles, the process of conveyancing is quite lengthy and difficult to get a clean title. So if you can address that and have land that is unencumbered with a clear title, then you are one step ahead of everyone. Then there is problems of water, power, even infrastructure. That's why you see most of these developers put in cabro, sink in a borehole, bring in power, do solar. If you do that, yes, there's a problem, but if you do that, you're also one step ahead of everyone. There's a challenge with financing. So your customers are not funded. They have to save or look for capital. If you address the customer funding, you put together partnerships with banks, SACCOs, and all providers of capital, then you're one step ahead of the curve. The supply chain is quite challenging. Cost of materials I've seen from the media going up because petrol and the rest is also going up. So if you have a way to work with manufacturers and then your cost is lower than competition, then you create a value chain that provides value to the end customer. And if your environment is, we are all youthful, is Instagrammable. So you build a house complete with beautifully manicured gardens, with the nice spaces for the family. You bring the internet connectivity there. Then it becomes an attractive place for people to live in and families to thrive, and maybe charge a 5-10% rental premium over everyone else. So you must create value for everyone. I don't think now the market segment is where build they will come, build anything they will show up, but you have to keep people for longer, so you have to give value for money and go over and beyond what you should normally do. It's a competitive world.
In any of the projects that you've gone into, have you found ever that it was, at the end of the day, a bad business decision? Or has everything that you've ever touched turned to gold, as it were?
No, challenge, something we would have done differently occurs to us every other day. That's why our second phase is better than the first one. You incorporate customer feedback, you incorporate market feedback, you travel across, you move around and see different things you'd have done differently. If you look at the car model, you take a Range Rover that was designed in 1960 and you take the 2023 one, there's been a series of improvements. If you take even buildings that were built in the 60s and the ones that are being built today, there are series of improvements. I think even your studios, the way they were then, the way they are now is different.
Yes.
So you have to innovate, change, and adopt the market. And don't blame yourself. I don't think there is a fully formed idea. You keep improving them as you move. Yeah.
Iteration is key.
It is. But even as you do this, what informs then that you would hold on to an idea as opposed to going forward if in the middle of it there are some alarms that go off? What would you say at that point? Sure, there's been planning that has been done, because I look at business and individuals going into business and they say, well, look, even though we feel a little bit uncomfortable, let's just go ahead. Are there things that would inform you about going to a project, for example, and you say, you know what, let's hold on this one and let's go in this? What would inform that particular climate?
So we create a checklist, because you start with an hypothesis. For anything there is demand. Then you say, I'll only start if I'm able to sell 40 or 30% of the project. I'll also start if I get all the approvals. I also start if I secure funding. So you have a criteria that allows you to tick each box, and then it's clear that you can start. But as they say, if facts change, then you must change your mind. So if all these facts in a 10 checklist change, that I wasn't able to sell, funding is more expensive, I did not get approvals on time, then you modify the project or you don't proceed with it. If you're about to start and cost of materials double, then it means your construction cost will be higher than your selling price, so you can change. So we change based on the factual circumstances that are there, and you adopt to the new ones. Yeah.
That requires you to be really very quick in making decisions, in noticing what's happening and deciding what to do. There are many people who are afraid of doing that. You're like, okay, so this was our original design. Maybe we should survive. We should persevere for a bit. Let's give it an extra 24 months and see whether things are going to improve. And either by some sheer luck it improves and they still continue running, or it just goes south and they're looking back at 24 months of a bad decision that they should have made a decision 24 months ago, then they didn't.
Yeah. So fortunately for the organization I work for, we have some golden rules. A bad decision is better than none. So you fail and fail quickly. You run and then move forward. So if you hold a decision for 2 years, you'd rather have made a bad decision and changed in a month than held for that lost opportunity. If also you don't make a decision, you don't know what you'd have changed. You have no lesson learned. So even in my personal life and how we operate the company, you are allowed to make bad decisions, because then you can quickly run and understand, and that way you keep perfecting the next decision then you make is better. So no one is afraid to be bold. But I think institutions are set up differently. Maybe where there is enough wealth made, you need to preserve it. Where there is no wealth, you need to look for it. Yeah, to look for it, you have to take risk.
We operate in a very interesting existence whereby there's so much demand for certain things? Looking at the space, obviously, where you're, operating within, Ken, and you say government is trying to do certain things. You mentioned the housing levy. Government is trying to put up affordable housing. Do you see yourself at this point, and as an individual and a company who is providing a much needed service that could essentially advise or inform as private sector than what government could or would do in the future?
Yes, so the role of government, I think, is to create an enabling environment.
Yes.
So government has identified there is demand for housing, and really this housing is to improve the standards of living for everyone and to create opportunities across. So the people will develop these houses, and I've seen is private sector. Government has been advertising these tenders. The occupiers of these houses will be citizens who are also private sector. So the data that is gotten from there, as you put up the projects, as you sell them, as they are occupied, is what then you share back with government, and that will inform future policies. It will also inform the future approach that government and other sectors take. So I think it's the data that will be available as these projects are being implemented, and maybe the best thing is to have a feedback mechanism that then informs the key stakeholders, government being one of them. Yeah.
So private sector could actually inform and advise government from where you sit?
Yes, and I think it's the role of everyone.
To advise the government.
To do something for your government.
Let's take a break. It's 8:30. Kenya's biggest conversation is hosting Kenneth Mai. He is the CEO of Centum Real Estate. This is an organization that is in the real estate sector, industrial, commercial, residential. They've got projects in Kilifi County, in Nairobi County, several projects in Nairobi, also across the borders in Uganda. You'll tell us about the project in Uganda as well. Actually, we've barely talked about Uganda. Tell us the Uganda projects and why. But after the break, we'll be back shortly. Yes, Steve Otieno is quoting what you've just said. A bad decision is better than no decision at all. And he says, okay, now that one,
let it sink.
Yeah, let it sink. Indeed, we'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
You tuned into Kenya's biggest conversation. My name is Ramanyan.
Amen.
So 1 hour is over?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It gets over
Can you imagine
in 20 minutes.
what the big boys have also done?
I'm very proud of myself.
When you understand about partnership in politics, it's like the way marriage is these days. When you're looking for a wife, you're like, maybe you can help me pay for fees as I pay for the rent.
Why should you have a lioness living in your bedroom?
I have to tell you a story. I went for a prayer meeting, which was called for the spouses of candidates for senators and governors. And when I got to the gate, the lady who was the secretary, she refused to. She's telling me, no. Leo tunataka wa mama. Leo ni wa mama. I'm telling her, no. She said, no, sio siku yenu. And I thought, there's a problem here, because if it was a man, but this was a lady.
It will be called First Ladies until you change the name.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Cloudy conditions, a bit of a drizzle still in Nairobi, highs of 22 and lows of 14. 13 will be the low in a mostly sunny Nakuru, going to highs of 26. We'll see lows of 14 and highs of 22 in Nyeri, and lows of 23 and lows of 11 in Eldoret. Highs of 29 and lows of 23 in Mombasa, and highs of 30 and lows of 24 in Malindi. 21 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 30, and we'll see highs of 28 in a sunny Kakamega at 21. 19 and sunny in Kampala, going to highs of 28, and we'll see highs of 29 in a sunny Dar es Salaam at 26. 11 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 21, and at 25 Lagos is cloudy, highs of 30, highs of 31 in a partly sunny Kinshasa at 23.
Jimmy Gathu live. This is a man's show where we talk about politics, men talk, sports, anything that spells man. does your partner communicate in any way? Be it financially, be it sexually, be it heart to heart. That's a communication that you will never hear in a marriage counseling session.
So the most important thing is just be honest with yourself.
Jimmy Gatho Live happens every Saturday from 2 to 7.
Only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, so we're looking at traffic coming in from coming into most parts of the city this morning. It's looking at much better on the Thika Superhighway. Just look at that interesting web of traffic then all flowing into the CBD this morning. Folks got business to take care of. On the Northern Bypass, we'll see some of that coming in through to Ruaka, but it shouldn't be too bad from now. It's easing off on the Thika Superhighway, and that drama that we saw happening on Magadi Road is still there, actually, coming in quite some as you get towards the junction on Langata Road. We'll keep an eye on that specifically. Langata Road also is busy as you get towards Raila Odinga Way and then through to the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. Talk to us on Spice FM, KE on X.
Are you ready? Okay. Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Kenneth Mbai, CEO of Centum Real Estate, developers in industrial, commercial and residential. The future of real estate, Kenneth. You mentioned something there. Now, since COVID, we've seen more and more people working from home and people spending a lot more time actually working from home than working at a designated office space. But also, we've seen with that the mushrooming of co-working spaces where set up a place, you can just pop in and people work either on shift or something like that. So there's all that's changing. Changes as well or improvements and developments in Kenya's industrial real estate sector. How would you project where we go? Let's start with residential in terms of the kind of demand for sizes, for amenities in the houses, for size of homes. Is it changing?
Yes, the market segment is changing, and if you look at a family living room is also changing. The living room was designed around a TV, and even the arrangement of that living room was centered around the TV. Yep. But if you look at a family where they are teenagers and the rest, they all have gadgets. They may be sitting, not looking at the TV, but it was the centerpiece.
Yeah.
With the COVID, there was a requirement to work from home. So you have a private office. The way the design was previously, you not work from home. It was a bit uncomfortable. So that has made us redesign our units to take care of that. The need to work from home, the need for kids to do their assignments and the rest. Also, people are looking at the home holistically. You can walk in that neighborhood. You can enjoy the living space in totality. So that has forced us to redesign, and I think it's forced every real estate developer to rethink how they put together the living spaces on the residential segment. The other market, because of the scarcity of capital and also the flexibility and how the world is changing, organizations want to spend money in their core business. So you want to spend money in your core business and not spend money in doing office fit-outs. That's why there is that co-working space. You can pay for a given period of time and you move to another location or another country and set it up. So you allocate capital to your core business, but that has allowed people to also create co-working businesses. On the industrial segment, we've seen a lot of agriculture industries coming up, and for our development we have a cashew nut factory. We had a cashew nut plantation which attracted a cashew nut factory, but that factory is helping the entire coastal region where cashew nuts are grown. So there is value addition. The only limitation is cost of power. It makes it expensive to manufacture locally, but that's another segment that is that has growth and that has high potential, and that is creating hundreds or thousands of jobs. then the cost of the cost of doing business in other parts of the world, I think BPO outsourcing was being done in Philippines, India, and other parts of the world. Now I think it's more attractive to set up in Kenya. So you'll see global companies coming up in Kenya and setting up, and those are some of the opportunities that then our developments are creating.
Where do you think this will go? I mean, just coming off the back of what you've said now. So there's an appetite, obviously, for business investment here and different parts of the region. But where do you think this particular sector will go? Having been in it for a number of years now, what are the trends looking like in terms of developing an entire nation? Because right now we see real estate development more often than not taking place in the urban centers. And then there's the need for development through to other parts of the country. What potentially could happen?
So what will unlock real estate developments across is funding, and with the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company and maybe the fund, it will give cheaper long-term capital, and this then will help Kenyans access funding across the country. And with the county governments and with all these towns across the country, you'll start seeing urbanization and real estate developments also going to those segments. And if you go back to the village, like where I come from, and you drive around or walk around, you can see the facades, the roofs are changing. People are building better homes, higher quality homes. It means they have access to funding, either through saving, and they want to create better living environment, and I think it's across the country. So we'll see a bit of developments in Nairobi, but also in the key towns, Mombasa, Nakuru, Kisumu, and the rest, and other parts of the country. There will also be real estate developments there. So if funding is unlocked and people have access to affordable funding that is long term, and this can be unlocked from SACCO, Kenya Mortgage Refinance, and maybe eventually banks, then there will be growth across the country.
Does KMRC finance developers?
KMRC finances the end user.
Just the buyer of the house.
Finances banks, and then banks provide the end user funding.
Okay.
Yes.
So where would developers get cheaper finances? Because in the end, we can see KMRC with a sub 10% mortgages is a good thing, but it's a sub 10% of an expensive unit. It's expensive because it was expensive to put up this unit. It was expensive for the developer to buy the money to put up the unit. It was expensive for the developer to buy the technology, to buy the materials. So how can we make the developer get cheaper money so that then the units can be cheaper?
Yes, that's a good question. The first challenge that developers had, they had two challenges. One is the cost of their own funding. Two, the funding for their customers. So you build, you finish your project, then stay several years without being paid. But today with that KMRC funding, there is guarantee that if you build as soon as you complete, and then the mortgage is in place and you get back your capital. If that happens at scale and it's long-term funding, then there will be alternative funds that come in and provide long-term funding to developers, that because they at the back of it there is a way of being paid. So I think the market will adjust over time, and developers will have enough funding. They'll also be able to recycle their own capital from projects that they have done, and that will change the entire funding model.
Does Centum, as you look at the work that has been done over the last few years and then going forward, adapt to what would global trends? You talked about, for example, previously the center of a living room used to be around the TV. That's one, obviously a trend. Things have changed now because, how life then changes. But do you find then that the organization will then adapt to global trends, whether those be trends in construction and building, ideation around, design of homes and things like that?
Yes, we as an organization, and I think you'll be forced to, if you don't, you have to adopt. But then we want to be proactive and be at the center of what is happening, so that you influence the changes that are happening, and you get the pioneer advantage, the first mover advantage. So we have a research team that identifies those trends. We discuss with our design team to incorporate those trends, and then we enjoy from that benefit, because the worst thing would be to build a house and then you walk in and say, had you done these 5 things I would buy, but the way it is, I can't buy.
Yeah.
So that is the challenge that we have to deal with upfront. You want the customer to be comfortable that I can buy this product. Yeah.
What are some things that people say they would want you to do that perhaps you've not done yet and that you would be interested in doing in the future?
Many things. Just to give maybe a vehicle experience. So yeah, of course everyone wants the high-end vehicle for the price of the other model.
Yes.
So yeah, the expectation is very high-end things are expected for a price that is not affordable. So that mismatch of expectation, and then that forces you then to improve the design, to improve the finishes, so that the perception is the same. Because a family, if you see, and I think most of the people, if you are to do your wealth declaration, real estate will form 60 or 70% of your wealth. Even for public officers, when wealth declaration is done, you see real estate is a big segment of it. It's something that you bring people to see, you host parties, so you want the best of that show off. So that is the thing that we get from most of our customers.
Is there a mismatch between what we have as government data versus what the market sees? And let me tell you why I'm asking this. If you look at figures from government, from what we call formal employment, a majority, a big bulk of people who are in formal employment are in the average of up to 50,000 shillings, right? 30 to 50K a month. And then we have a minority who are above that. The ones who are above 100,000 are few. If you look at the statistics about bank and bank accounts, again, those who maintain a balance of 100,000 shillings and above are few. But then if you come to the market and you look at the kind of developments that we see and the kind of houses that you're selling houses that are above 8 million shillings to 10 million shillings and thereabouts. And then there are those, of course, that are around 4 million shillings. But many of the houses are in the upwards of 5 million shillings. Those ones cannot be financed by mortgage by somebody who is making 50,000 shillings a month. Explain this disparity.
Yeah, of course, the market is not transparent. The market data, it's maybe translucent, and I think that data will keep improving over time. If you compare this to Europe or the US, and you want to know the number of transactions that were crossed last week, the price per house, how much it was paid for, who financed it, that data in the US, you open anything, CBRE, JLL reports, you'll have what's happening in real time. I don't think there's an agency or a research firm that has put that together in this market, so it's very difficult to determine that data. But I think as the economy grows, as the funding channels grow, as the investors come along, that will be integrated, and one day we'll have that kind of data. I think it's just the natural growth of any market. The reason advanced markets are like that is because their credit system is well advanced, and these projects are being funded by either banks or financial institutions, so this data is available. The way people fund acquisition here is a bit different. I get money from the SACCO, which is maybe not linked directly to any data source, and I pay deposits. I do business, I pay another deposit, so that data is not coordinated. But if you look at that SASRA report, the SACCO Regulatory Authority, you'll see accounts that are holding savings of more than 1 million shillings and above have increased by 18 to 20% compared to last year, meaning people are saving more. If you look at the data that is people holding money savings in the bank account is very different from what is happening in the SACCO space. Yeah.
What's the plan for the future? I know that there are developments that are happening right now, obviously, in the throes of that. But if you look at a grander scale and say, okay, so this is where we want to go, I mean, it's notable what has happened so far. It's notable what individuals, families, businesses have been able to enjoy from the work that Centum has done around the country to date. But what's the plan and what can folks look forward to?
So the plan is big, but if it's again data driven. So if we look at sub-Saharan Africa and just look at the 6 countries around, there is a housing deficit, and this is the government data, which may be so there are 2 million houses estimated in Kenya. The same in Uganda, 2 million houses. In Tanzania, it's higher. In Congo, it's much higher. So you can, if you give 6 countries 2 million each, that's 12 million housing shortfall. If we were able to capture 1% of that, and that's quite big. Those are 120,000 units. Even if you capture 1% of that 120,000 units, that's still sizable, 1,200 units. So our ambition is precisely to be there, to be developing 1,000 units plus per year, and expand to many other countries. So to be a developer of scale and to change and empower communities around. We also do a lot of CSR. Education is big for us. We educate now 400 kids from Vipingo. Bright but needy kids would not have gotten access to secondary education. And they're on full scholarship. So we can also increase that and have a big impact around the society.
Indeed.
So we are a big developer, but in the scale of the opportunity, we're just demonstrating potential.
Nothing yet there.
Yeah.
I'm interested as to lessons here because, a lot of mistakes, and we've heard this, the run-of-the-mill inspirational speaker would say, well, don't bite off more than you can chew. But even as you hear and you're saying, look, we want to be able to go big in the future, this is obviously not a move that you would have been able to make 5 years ago or, in year 2 of operation. What are some of the lessons that you've been able to learn looking at the market and saying, well, we can say we're going to go big from 2023 moving on because of what we had done before?
So, yes, we've drawn lessons from what we've done. We've developed every market segment, affordable, high-end. We know the depth of high-end, we know the depth of mid-market, and we know the depth of affordable. So we can see the opportunity and where there is the greatest demand, and we want to focus on that. So it's based on what we've done and the lessons that we've run, but also looking at the bigger picture and the opportunity that is there. So now I want to stop fishing with a fish rod and get a fishing vessel. Yeah.
You mentioned, if we were to look at the market that you were talking about, urbanization is going to be the big thing. Kenya's population is going to be majority urban in just a few years' time. But for that to happen, there has to be planned development of these urban areas. The Kilifi project, as you said, is planned to create a city where people can work, live around here and have the recreational facilities. So as you're doing the housing projects, then you must create that demand by making sure that you create opportunities for people to work, and then also you're providing them the availability of houses. You mentioned BPO. Business process outsourcing is a conversation that's happened in this country for many years. Kenya can be the BPO hub. Kenya has, a well-learned population. Kenyans speak fairly good English. Kenyans can do this and the other. Because of our geopolitical location, we are awake when many people are awake, and we can even stay awake when other people are asleep, and all those things. Do you have a plan to set up BPOs and then attract those kind of investors to come into any of your projects, let's say Vipingo, where they can come and set up there, and that would also then create demand for your houses.
Yes, we have that. And just to start off with Vipingo, when we started, it was more of industrial, hankered. But then when we spoke to the industry owners, they would ask, where will my people stay? So housing became a key component to bringing industry. So we focused on building houses. And now, if I have to come and set up a factory there or a office there, I'm not worried where my staff will stay. Both senior management, mid-level, and every segment. So as these economic drivers happen, then if people are there and they have a source of income, they're able to generate some economic activity. There are families, they need a school, they need to take care of their health, so hospital comes in, and they need to entertain themselves, so people need to have a good life. So they have disposable income. That's where retail and hotel and entertainment comes in. Then you create the ecosystem. I think you've seen Two Rivers set up a TRIFIC, the Special Economic Zone, to take advantage of those BPOs and regional businesses. So that's another opportunity that is happening around Nairobi, and a similar opportunity will also happen in Uganda to take advantage of both local and international trends and the things that favor Kenya. So where it was cheaper to do business in Far East, India and the rest, it's now expensive. And that must move elsewhere. So that comes to Kenya. Yeah, and we take advantage of that. We have already ready spaces for these businesses to relocate in a day and be operating here. While doing that, you create employment to thousands of Kenyans, and you also increase the tax revenue. Yeah.
Two Rivers is one of now the new gazetted economic zones, is it?
Yes.
So is it a special economic zone?
Yes.
What does that mean? What's the advantage?
So it's a service focused special economic zone, and precisely fits that segment of BPO and many other segments. So it means companies can set up, companies that are focusing on the regional operations can set up at Two Rivers and enjoy the tax benefits of running the operations across the region, while creating employment and increasing the the foreign investment.
FDI.
Yeah.
Does that mean that the management of Two Rivers then has to vet who's coming in?
Yes, there is already a set up management team and a team that focuses on that. And I think I need to bring them to the show.
Yes, come and tell us. So,
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
what is it that how do they attract the companies that come and set up there?
Yeah.
What are the benefits that they enjoy? And how does that also work within the ecosystem of Two Rivers, which has recreational facilities, shopping facilities, retail facilities, and also, of course, residential?
Yes, Two Rivers is well set up as all the amenities. And it's actually plug and play. Now you can set up and work from the same environment, enjoy yourself from the same environment. Yes.
You can live there. You can even go to church there.
All encompassing.
Let's talk about Uganda.
Yeah.
What the projects are you doing as Centum Real Estate in Uganda, and why Uganda?
So using the same data, there is housing shortfall or deficit. The supply is lower than the demand. So we own 400 acres around the shores of Lake Victoria. We've master planned that, and we've developed 700 residential units. The beauty of that is it's as a frontage of a freshwater lake. So we've done maybe one of the pioneer master plan developments there, and it's been hugely successful. Quite a beautiful location that is a holiday destination. So the market is good, and the demand is there, and I think we've taken all the lessons from Kenya and implemented there in a big way. It's a beautiful site for you to see.
Yeah. And even Kenyans can purchase there.
Kenyans can purchase there, and there are a number of our customers.
I mean, that's great. I mean, I look at this and I think about conversations that we've had this week, and having representatives from the East African Legislative Assembly talking about regional development and looking at who can then stand in a position of leadership. And then I look at land issues in the country, and all of this just seems to come to one central focal point whereby a lot can be done with everybody putting their hands together, whether there's the commercial aspect, which people benefit from. But if you look at the development agenda of the country as a whole, as an individual who sits at the helm of this organization that's doing so much in the real estate market, how do you see then that the development agenda can be contributed to across board by yourselves and looking at Kenya as the goal?
With development and with RAND being a key input to that development is if the process of conveyancing, the process of getting a title is fast-tracked, it unlocks many opportunities. It helps you fund the project, it creates jobs, and as many developers keep engaging, then I think government sees the critical need for having efficient services that are facilitative to the business.
All right.
Yeah.
Kenneth, we thank you very much for joining us again today. Kenneth Mbai, it's Kenneth Mbai, not Kipkoech. Kenneth Mbai is the CEO of Centum Real Estate. He has been our guest this hour. We've been talking about real estate development and what he sees from where he sits atop the perch of Centum Real Estate, one of the largest real estate development companies in the country. Asante Sana, come again soon. In fact, bring the Two Rivers guys next time. Let them tell us about the special economic zone and the big opportunities that it portends. Keep it here for more conversations. In the next hour, we discuss Mambo Ningapi? Ni tatu. 9 a.m. Good morning.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is investigating 21 sitting and former governors over corruption and economic crimes. The current and former county bosses are being investigated over embezzlement of public funds, conflict of interest, procurement fraud, payroll fraud mainly through ghost workers, fraudulent pending bills, and blatant disregard of laws relating to financial management. EACC spokesperson Eric Ngumbi says the investigations are at different stages, and upon conclusion, files will be forwarded to the Director of Public Prosecutions with appropriate recommendations. Ngumbi has also dismissed reports that the recent arrest of former Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya and his 3 wives was politically instigated and influenced by the government. The food security situation in the country has improved drastically due to adequate rainfall received in the main March to May rainy season. According to East Africa Community Cabinet Secretary Rebecca Miano, the number of those who are food insecure due to drought has dropped from 4.4 million to 2.8 million. The CEO was speaking when she released an assessment report at Ewaso Nyiro South Development Authority offices in Narok. The CS said that the situation in 23 arid and semi-arid lands in the counties in the study conducted between 10th and 21st of July this year showed tremendous improvement. Kiambu County Department of Environment and Water Board has begun marking riparian areas as a way of conserving rivers. Farmers owning land bordering rivers have been urged to stop farming and keep a 10-meter distance from the rivers as it is contaminating and diminishing water. According to David Kuria, County Executive Committee member in charge of environment, there is a conflict between farmers and sources of natural water, and there is a need to sensitize them on how to maintain riparian land. Boniface Muga, managing Director of Kiambu Water and Sewerage Company, reiterated the sentiments of having a shortage of water for human consumption, which has led the company to water rationing. The government has concluded the transfer of the Kenya Petroleum Refineries Limited to Kenya Pipeline Company. Energy and Petroleum Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir has said this. Chirchir said the takeover will help improve the utilization of the assets of KPRL, which closed down its Changamwe refinery in 2014 after it became uneconomical to run the operations at the facility. The Energy CS spoke in Mombasa and explained that the KPRL facility became unprofitable after it failed to match the required output. KPRL assets, which sit on a 370-acre parcel of land, have been idle for the past 9 years, and on July 18th, President William Ruto's cabinet approved the acquisition of KPRL by KPC through transfer of shares. And French President Emmanuel Macron has lauded President William Ruto for supporting climate action initiatives ahead of the inaugural Africa Climate Summit slated to be held in Nairobi between September 4th to 6th. Speaking when delivering a speech on France's foreign policy, Macron commended Ruto for his efforts while adding that France and all its allies will work together to support the initiative. Over 25 heads of states and thousands of dignitaries are expected to attend the Nairobi Summit, which aims to champion a positive, climate-compatible vision for Africa. The summit will focus on the theme driving green growth and climate finance solutions for Africa and the world. Now, India's Goa Shipyard Limited and Kenya Shipyard Limited have signed a memorandum of understanding in the field of capacity building and for collaboration in ship design and construction in a move to enhance bilateral defense cooperation. The MOU was signed when India's Raksha Mantri Sri Shardat Singh held talks with Kenya's Defense Cabinet Secretary Ednah Duale in New Delhi. Duale is in India for a 3-day work visit. And the military leaders who took power in Gabon have announced the head of the Presidential Guard Unit, Brice Clotaire Oligui Nguema, as the country's interim leader. According to news reports, Nguema is the cousin of the ousted President Ali Bongo. The spokesperson of the Transitional Council through the state news agency Gabon 24 announced Nguema as the interim president. A few hours after the military leaders took power, President Ali Bongo was seen in a video calling for help.
I'm Ali Bongo Ondimba, President of Gabon, and I'm to send a message to all the friends that we have all over the world to tell them to make noise, for the people here have arrested me.
These while international organizations are expressing concern about the coup in Gabon. France and the African Union have condemned the coup and called for a peaceful resolution to the conflict that emerged after the election in which Bongo was declared the winner. This is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, still some traffic here and there. It slows down as you're coming on the Thika Superhighway out towards the city a little bit, just at that Pagani underpass. But most parts of the city free and clear now. Are you coming off of Wayaki Way into the city, coming into Westlands, you should be fine. And also on Langata Road, we've seen that clear up quite some. But I mean, people have done really well, getting where they're going really quickly, not causing too much in terms of traffic. We'll still see a little bit of that on James Gishoro and maybe some on Chiromo. That's in and outbound traffic. It's flowing, but, you know, a bit slow. And coming out of Kitisuru as well, slows down just a tad, but you'll be okay. Let's see what happens by the end of traffic hour. Talk to us in the meantime on Spice FM KE on Twitter, on X. It's X.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
7 minutes after 9. How are you? Okay, welcome to the final hour of The Situation Room. Still live on Spice FM and online. City is away, like you've said. He's going to be back next week. So I have the day's proverb. This week's proverbs are from South Africa. A grave is not dug until a person is dead. a grave is not dug until a person is dead. What's your interpretation, Ndu?
Yeah, that you don't prepare for some things until, there are certain things that you don't prepare for until it has happened. Like in my language, they say you don't start looking for a black goat at night. It would be the opposite of this. That you start looking when it's day, because dark, night, black, same thing, you wouldn't find it. But something like death, which we do not speak of until it has happened, we also don't prepare for it. We don't do anything until it has happened. There are certain things we prepare for. This is not one of them. We prepare for birth. We prepare for union. We prepare for, certain, incidences in life. Death is not one of them. In fact, one could say that death is the one incident of life that you don't prepare for.
You don't dig.
Don't dig.
Well, I think in many ways you prepare for it, because you talk about
having a will and things like that.
Yeah. And even if you're not having a proper modern day will, you will make sure that all your affairs are in order.
Sure, but
at certain age, you get to a certain age, you say, this is how this family is structured. This is how my estate will be managed after I'm gone. This is what you're going to do. You prepare all those things, but they do not start digging your grave until you are dead.
Because it's finality, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why you even see that some people have held their emotions, but the minute that body is lowered into that hole is when all the emotions let loose, because it is finality, isn't it? You don't prepare for that finality, really, until the moment.
I agree. I see two ways of interpreting it, in terms of there's a natural order of things, there's a sequence of things, and follow that sequence of things. Okay, don't start having dinner at breakfast.
Sure.
Right. So there's an order, natural order of the way things are done.
Yeah.
But also on the other hand, if you consider the fact that you are not the one who will dig your grave, it's the other people who will dig your grave. They have to wait until you die before they dig your grave.
Exactly.
That means that people should not make a decision on your behalf. But they've got to wait until then now they can take over your power of attorney, so to speak.
Indeed. Indeed.
Can't start inheriting me when I'm alive. Okay. President William Ruto, yesterday he was at the Kakamega State Lodge where he was addressing farmers. And he said, nimesikia watu wengine wakisema, nina threaten watu. I have not threatened anybody. It's the truth and it's not a threat. Nasikia ati nimetisha. Sijatisha watu, wezi na wakora na wale wanataka kuonyeshana na mambo ya wafisadi watahama Kenya, ama wataenda jela, ama wataenda wapi?
Mbinguni.
And they said, waende mbinguni. And there were cheers. He said, I'm surprised and I'm shocked that anybody in Kenya can defend corruption, can defend wastage. What has made this country go backward? The sugar industry here has collapsed because we bring the government money and it gets lost. We bring money to pay farmers and other things. It gets lost. We cannot continue working like that. Do you want us to continue playing Lingala with the lives of people? Tuendelee kucheza hapa Lingala na mambo ya watu? Utakubali hiyo? Ama mnasema nini nyinyi watu ya Kakamega? Hapana. He has reiterated. And this, he was directly responding to the opposition Azimio Alliance, to the Law Society of Kenya, to human rights organizations such as Amnesty International Kenya, whose leader, Irungo Houghton, was in that press conference with the Law Society of Kenya president, and others who heard what he first said. Mambo ni mangapi?
3.
Wakora, wafisadi, watapeli. Kitu ya kwanza, wahame Kenya. Don't practice what you're doing in the country. Option number 2, tupeleke we kotini, uende jela. Option number 3, uende mbinguni.
Look, I don't, it's easy to talk about roadside declarations. I don't think this was a roadside declaration from him. I do think that he's applied thought to it. And I think that there's been further thought applied to it. And that is why we saw the repetitive nature of this sentiment or of this statement. And that those who may have come out thinking that maybe he was emotional, or those who came out thinking that maybe he was reckless with his words, he has come out to say, and by the time he was saying it that caused this initial uproar, it was not the first time he had said it. It wasn't. And then, for avoidance of all doubt, the president has come out to say it again. That then it would appear that his stance, or the stance that he has taken, on things like this. And I think there are layers of things that he has said here. Number one, this mismanagement, this, pushing people out of their rights as citizens to be able to do business in the country, this business of now saying that you're going to come and misbehave or be an agent of corruption in the country, we're not going to allow it. And that there are ways in which we will deal with those things. If you don't like the way we operate with business here in the country, then you're allowed to leave. You can actually leave, but we are not going to stomach this anymore. Secondly, if you think that you will stay within the boundaries of this country, still do what you want to do, and we consider it to be a crime, guess what? The arm of the law then will deal with you, and then you'll be taken to court and we'll charge you in court. And whatever happens thereafter, it will be a process of that system. The third one...
I'm waiting for this one.
The third one is utaenda binguni. You can look at that however you want. But, and this is where everybody, I think, the first two, I don't really think anybody had an issue with it. This third one is where the issues that everybody was talking about. Because what does that mean? That you will meet your maker. What does that mean? Sudden death. That's what it means, essentially, that death. So what is the president saying? That he's going to set up a special squad that will deal with these people and that we will
And remember,
off you?
it is an option it's an additional option to the judicial option.
Yes.
So this is extrajudicial.
And just weeks ago, he had a very candid, open sentiment about extrajudicial killings and how he was not going to allow this government of his deal the way previous governments had been doing. He made references to River Yala, and he did say things like that. This last statement is the one that everybody has had an issue with. He didn't mince his words. So, three things could have been meant here. Yes, we will off you. And that's the... Look, we can say it. That's the uncomfortable conversation that people don't want to have. That is the president actually saying that we will get rid of you, like we will off you. Well, I think we should deal with the reality. That possibly it is one of the things that he was saying. Or deal with it. Or, as Ednah has told us this morning, your sins can be forgiven if you kneel down and pray and ask God for forgiveness. That also is meeting heaven. Or... you can have an extraterrestrial experience where the scales will fall off your eyes like Saint Saul, who became Saint Paul, and then you can go now and get on the straight and narrow. Choose for yourself. But you know one thing that struck me?
So heaven is basically saying reform.
Yes. Or
because there are three options. One, you go and practice this thing outside the country. You have not reformed. Two, you are taken to jail to be reformed there by force. Or third, you see heaven.
Literally.
See the light.
Yes.
Damascus moment.
Have a Damascus moment. This is the light.
They should make you government spokesman. Aye. Hey, ndu. So heaven is basically you'll see the light. You will reform.
This thing that we're trying to get you to see, that this business that you've been operating in this country, and you think it's okay, we're telling you that it's not okay. So how about you need to have a conversation with yourself and really see the light that this cannot happen.
Tuambie Mwenyezi Mungu akutembelee. Akuonyeshe mambo ya mbinguni.
But you know one thing that he did?
Ukiona mambo ya mbinguni, utawacha hii mambo yako ya ukora, ufisadi, utapeli.
Yeah. You know how somebody says, I heard somebody telling the class 8s who are going into the third term this year, said to them, you know what, guys? This is your opportunity to succeed or succeed. We're not giving you an option for failure here. It is succeed or succeed. And I think the president has done exactly that. You people who are trying to make inference as to what I've said, guess what? You're right.
Whatever you're thinking.
That it is that. The thing you're thinking, the president is going to offer us, okay. The president wants us to meet, yes. Whatever it is that you have thought, I'm telling you, you're right. So, the thought...
It's like what Jesus told people. It is you who has said it.
You see, I've told you, and then I've repeated it. If this is what you think is good, you also think this is good. You think I'm being emotional. Guess what? It is you who is thinking, and I've just told you the truth. So deal with it as you would like.
Let's open the phone lines. 0719-012-600. Number one, do you support the president's Mambo ni Matatu warning to corruption cartels in the country? Whatever he means, whatever it means, what is your interpretation of it? Let's hear from you, 0719-012-600. You know, we have had very many conversations. In fact, CT, I I would have loved to hear what CT says about this. Because many times CT has said, how about we just look at China? China, 1, 2, 3, you're Boshilai. You're the richest person in China. You are powerful in the political party called the Communist Party. You are this and the other. You're untouchable. We determined that you and your wife, you did what? Corruption. You, your wife, heaven. Mambo ni mata?
Not even jailer.
Sayuni, Boshilai and his wife, and I think their children, heaven. Na hiyo story tukamaliza. We dusted, we moved on.
And we are now in the
China
sixth plan of development. 6th 5-year plan.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you want to ask yourself the question?
Kuna mambo sijui nini, this and the other. No, we are not going to have a conversation with this corruption where we are negotiating with corruption. You don't have a room to negotiate. It is either you reform or you go practice it elsewhere, or we shall deal with you legally. John, where are you, John? It's been a while, though.
Yeah, it's been a while. How are you?
Salama kabisa?
Yes. Bado niko Nairobi tu.
Uko hii Kilimani?
Hii Kilimani yetu.
Okay.
Yes.
You've heard the president not once, not twice, not 3 times.
Yes.
He said exactly the same thing.
Same thing. Yes. I don't know why we are even having this discussion. Because to me, that's the way to go. That's the way to go. Watu ni njia tatu. Na hii ya tatu ya kwenda mbinguni, people are misinterpreted. What he meant, that people get saved and go to heaven.
Bas.
Yes. So when you get saved, unaacha wizi.
Yes. And uhalifu.
Yes. Yeah, na uhalifu. So, kwa nini watu wanaogopa? If you could have said go to hell, would you be having this conversation? And you know, people are always giving an example of Rwanda.
Yes.
You know, do you understand how Rwanda got where it is? It is not by babysitting people, by being tough. So we cannot have our cake and eat it at the same time, because we have to make a decision as a country.
Yeah.
And to me, I fully support the president.
So you think he has drawn the line in the sand and this is it?
Yes. If he's going to follow through what he has said, I 100% support him.
Okay. Thank you, John.
I support. So watu wa Okoh, bye.
Thank you. Dr. Mike.
Hi, how are you?
Good morning.
Very well, thanks, man. It's been a while as well.
It's been a minute. How have you been?
Salama kabisa, but we're sure that you've been listening.
No. I've been listening, yeah?
Yeah.
Although there are some guests that you bring and we really want to put them to questions and you actually block the numbers, but it's okay.
Mambo ni matatu bwana.
I know, I get you. Now, on this issue of corruption at wataenda binguni, we know what they did the moment they came into power.
Who's they?
When they came in, all those corruption cases that were active, what happened to them?
They were inactive.
They actually were put aside. They were put inactive. They were neutralized. In fact, if I were them, I would rather, because they have a way around it, I would have just let the cases go until the final conclusion where they are declared at least innocent. But you cannot just get into office and through the DPP, you just drop all these cases. Then you come here and start shouting hallelujah on how you are so active against corruption. I mean, I stopped watching news because it's depressing. Already we have enough corruption cases. We have borrowed more than what Uhuru borrowed in the same period of his tenure. And now we come and start claiming that we are here to fight corruption. There is no corruption that will be fought. In fact, I brace myself for tougher times ahead.
So for you, what the president is saying is just empty rhetoric.
It is whitewash. It is gas. And for sure, that explains the reason why he is not somewhere working. In fact, you look at him and you look at the opposition guys, he looks like the best opposition leader Kenya has ever had.
Why?
And where is he? Where is he even currently? He's planning
working.
to be on top of a car somewhere.
Boss.
On
he's
top
working.
of a car.
He was launching
On
a
top
health.
of a car.
He was launching a health facility yesterday. On
a health
Tuesday, he
center.
chaired a cabinet meeting in Kakamega where they discussed
Wonderful.
issues. He was meeting with
If he
the
was
farmers,
working,
farmers
Latiff,
of
thank
Kakamega
you.
County, and having a conversation
you
with
so
them
much.
about what they need policy-wise. That is work.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I have enough to show you that he is not working. One, and I'll not even go to the third point. If he was really working, macadamia prices will not be at 2 bob per kilo, 10 bob per kilo. If he was really working, the major cash crops in Kenya wouldn't be suffering the way they are suffering in terms of price. We have enough patients in the wards who depended on that cash crop, but now they can't even afford cannulation in a ward. If he was really working, those guys of ours who import goods from elsewhere will be not struggling with the weakened Kenya shilling that we have currently. If he was really working, we wouldn't be having the tough economic situations that we are having. But that said, about corruption, forget it.
Okay.
In fact, now we'll have enough cover-ups. We may not even know, but I know could be there is a lot that is happening behind the scenes in terms of siphoning and pilferage. And for that's the reason why we may not even achieve a quarter of what he promised that he will bring it. He will bring on the board, on the table. Yeah.
Dr. Mike.
So anyway,
you of little
sorry for the
faith.
rant.
Thank you, Doc.
Good.
Thank you, Doc. Robert in Waithaka, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. And now, when I go and buy the sugar, and I find it a very high price, alafu we hear that even the sugarcane farmers at times hawajalipwa, or the issues of them being paid. And then I come and hear the president saying those three things. I feel a bit satisfied. And the bad thing with that is, if it does not deliver, he has said, in few years we will be heading for election. We will use that. Tasema, Your Excellency, ulituambia hizi vitu tatu hatujaona. I feel this conversation, we should let the president do his work. We've been crying, we want someone who will come and deal with the corrupt people. And once our president shows toughness, people are like, no, calm down. No, you should not calm down. Apambane na vilivyo.
So you support him all the way?
All the way.
What's your interpretation of that third option?
The way people are saying, he's a saved man. Yeah? Oni mzee wa kanisa. So he means watu waokoke ndio waweze kwenda mbinguni.
Kenyans.
We only see him on Sunday, right?
Okay.
Ningekuwa mtu wa club hivi, we will have interpreted it in another way. But with him, he's a man of God. And he means well because he's the head of state, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you, Robert. Let's hear from Ocheng, who's in Ngong. Good morning.
Hello, morning.
Morning to you.
Morning.
I'm calling from Gong. This is Marcelo Cheng.
Yes.
Now, my take on this, not to be quoted, but I'll use a msemo that says, set a thief to catch one thief. Not mentioning anyone, but, I think we are in the right direction as a country.
Wow.
we are in the direction.
Say what?
We are in the right direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not mentioning anyone, or you've not even said anything.
Not mentioning anyone, but Kenyans made the decision. They decided to set a thief to catch thieves. Not mentioning anyone again, whatsoever.
Okay.
Thanks, Latiff.
Thank you, Cheng. Also, comments on social media on Spice FM, on Facebook and on YouTube. We'll be sampling them as we continue. The thing is, the president has said it once, has said it twice, has said it 3 times, and he's saying, look, I do not want to prevaricate. I don't want you to mix issues here. What I am saying unequivocally is that corruption must be dealt with once and for all. We are going to give the corrupt people 3 options. Mambo ni mangapi? Matatu. Number moja, hama Kenya. So you don't do that corruption thing of yours here, go and do it elsewhere. Number 2, tupelekwe kotini, tufungewe jela. Okay? Follow the arm of the law. And number 3, enda mbinguni. Bas, story finish. Like he said, story finish. What does that mean? Of course, the human rights defenders have come out to directly speak and criticize the president and say, look, when you say that, you sound like you are saying we are going to deploy extrajudicial means to deal with the corrupt people. You have an option, which is the middle one, which is we shall go to court. But also it's like you're saying, if you go to court and maybe your investigative agencies did not do a good job, so this person is acquitted in court, maybe you are not even able to capture this person and get anything that will take them to court, but you just sit back and you're like, huyu mtu ni corrupt, you'll off them. You'll remove the problem akin to removing a tick off
a dog.
A dog.
I think what he did by repeating his sentiment or his statement was that he bequeathed upon everybody the gift of interpretation. Interpret as you wish. Once you have put it in the thing and you mix it up and this is the interpretation that you come out with, it's okay. You think that's the way what I've said? No problem. Now, let me repeat what I have said. And I did not remove a comma, not a full stop. I've said it the same way. In fact, as I was about to finish, you finished my statement for me. So that means clearly you've gotten what I've said, right? So you can, like I said, interpretation across board, let it be what it is. I've said what I've said and I've said it again. If it doesn't sit well with you, you are the one who has an issue, not me, because I've been very clear about what I'm saying. And this is it. We're not going to deal with this corruption issue anymore. We're not going to deal with people being put out of their businesses because one individual wants to be able to benefit over everybody else. We're not going to do it anymore. Stop it. And if you're not ready to sit with the rules that we've made, then you can leave the country. Okay, so you're here. And again, you still want to misbehave. We'll take you to court. And probably, because of the way we are seeing, court will send you to be their state, the guest of the state for a while. Now, further to that, these reform agenda that you're seeing will not work with you. We'll ask a higher power to reform you.
Okay. You know, the corrupt are sinners.
He's not confused.
The corrupt are sinners.
Yes.
We cannot send them to heaven.
God, it's a God come down situation. Send them to heaven, not literally. It's like I send somebody to your office, Eric.
to have a
conversation with you. Abi, when they come to the office, your office, who are they seeing?
Okay.
The owner of the office. The owner of the heavens.
Let's continue this conversation after this break. 0719-012-600. Dr. Micah said something. He's basically just being skeptical. He's like,
nothing is going to happen. Nobody's going to heaven.
Mambo, stories mingi. Anyway, are you prepared for the 20th edition of the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon? You should be. When is it taking place?
It's on the 29th of October and kicking off from Uhuru Gardens, the 20th edition of the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. It's a special one, this one, and it's giving back to individuals, whether they be young people, especially girls and people living with disability. It gives them the chance to learn, earn and grow. It's coming up for the 20th time, and right here on Spice FM we're going to count down towards the marathon as we celebrate 20 years. How can you register for this year's marathon? Log on to www.nairobimarathon.com. 2,000 shillings will get you in the bag and you can start training for the 29th.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Oh, finally! It's my Standard Courier delivery.
At Standard Courier, we know that your time is valuable. That's why we guarantee swift and efficient deliveries to your doorstep every time. Give us a call on 0793 599 684 or schedule your next delivery by visiting our website www.standardmedia.co.ke/courier. Trust Standard Courier service for all your courier needs. We deliver with pride.
Partly sunny conditions in some parts of Nairobi, highs of 22, highs of 26 in Nakuru, coming down to lows of 13, and we'll see lows of 14 in a partly sunny Nyeri, going to highs of 22. 23 will be the high in a sunny Eldoret at 15, and 25 and mostly sunny in Mombasa, and 26 and mostly sunny in Malindi. 21 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 30, and we'll see highs of 28 in a sunny Kakamega at 21. It's 19 and sunny in Kampala, highs of 28, and 26 and sunny in Dar es Salaam with highs of 29. At 11 degrees, Johannesburg is sunny, going to highs of 21, and it's mostly cloudy at 25 in Lagos, going to highs of 30. 31 will be the high in a partly sunny Kinshasa at 23. At 28, Thursday afternoon is sunny in Beijing with highs of 29. We'll see lows of 19. Cloudy at 14 in Paris, going to highs of 20, and 12 degrees, and cloudy in London, going to highs of 17. New York on Wednesday night is still cloudy at 20, coming into Thursday, highs of 25 and lows of 15.
I have a brother. He was a pilot. He was laid off. He came to a policeman. He messed up.
He went from a pilot to a policeman.
Exactly.
He stole a jet.
Yeah.
In fact, you should be lucky he was not court-martialed.
The Spice Drive. Big hair and the biggest hits from the best decade.
Indeed, it's all about hashtag Spice Drive, hashtag Quatch KWACH, 3 to 7 in the PM.
The Spice Drive, only on 94.4 Spice FM.
All right, it hasn't been looking too bad in most parts of the city this morning. We're looking at movement here and there into the CBD. It's where most of it's happening now. Everybody has done so well, getting off those major highways and back to work, back to school, doing the thing you do every morning. We're looking at most of it now just on that Limuru Road, trying to make its way into the city and then connecting a little bit coming onto Wangari Maathai. Other than that, I think we're out of traffic hour. Let's keep an eye on things through the morning. Spice FM KE on X.
Business News with Spice FM.
I'm Dennis Aseto. At least 7 out of 10 businesses in Kenya have expressed confidence in digital payment solutions despite an increase in taxes, according to a new report. An assessment contained in the report dubbed The Future of Finance listed ease of transacting and record-keeping among key drivers of digital payment despite a 5% increment in excise duty. Dentsu CEO Samantha Kipuri added that the adoption of emerging frontiers by financial institutions has further enhanced the uptake of digital payment systems. Financial analysts lobby the Institute of Certified Investment and Financial Analysts has opened a new college in Nairobi's Kasneb Towers to offer courses in investment, finance and related disciplines. The institution, which will start admitting students next month, says the program seeks to fill gaps in Africa's investment and financial analysis sectors. The institution will also offer online classes that are approved by the Technical and Vocational Education and Training Authority and Kasneb. Listed Total Foods company Unga Group Limited has welcomed the cabinet approval to operationalize the recently promulgated Strategic Food Reserve Regulations 2023, terming it as a step in the right direction. The operationalization of the regulations, Unga Group Managing Director Joseph Choge said, will provide a strategic avenue to enhance national food security ideals while strengthening the local food commodity market. The operationalization of the National Cereals and Produce Board Regulations 2023 with a base stock greater than 90,000 metric tons or 3 months national food requirement of scheduled agricultural produce, Choge said, will help to provide price stability for staple foods. China's Baidu rolled out its ChatGPT rival Ani to the public in a major leap for the country's tech sector as it aims to cash in on artificial intelligence gold rush. The Chinese government introduced fresh regulations this month for AI developers, aiming to allow them to stay in the race with the likes of ChatGPT, Meta, OpenAI and Microsoft while tightly controlling information online. AniBot is the first domestic AI app to be fully available to the public in China. It is not available outside the country. For Spice Business, I'm Dennis Aseto.
Spice FM Business. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. and right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
012-600 or post your comment on social media. The president has said what he has said. Mambo ni matatu to the people who are corrupt. Either, number 1, hama Kenya. Number 2, enda kotini, enda jela. Number 3, enda wapi? Chu. Kwa baba. Mbinguni.
Tonje says, good morning. No, I don't. He should apologize, as it has been proposed. The presidency is a symbol of national unity, really. I think at any given point in time, should he make such scary remarks or show anger in the public? At no given point in time, should he make such scary remarks or show anger in public? Okay. Kiprono says, we normally say to ourselves, go to hell, and there's never been an issue. Now there's an issue in go to heaven. Kenyans have a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so looking at some more statements here. Okay, I'm not quite sure I don't know what that means, so I'm not quite sure if I should say it here. He says, if the Mambo ni Tatu applies to the police force, then it should be okay. Cartels are the government. They have government protection. The president is blowing hot air. Let's see heads roll following the power blackout for us to start believing. Okay. All the alleged corruption cases, according to Chris, are being dropped depending on whose side you belong to. Let them enjoy their sweat, is what he says. He says, let's not change anything. He should look back. It is a threat.
It's a threat.
It's a threat, he says. It's a threat. Deal with me, I deal with you.
Amarwa in Embakasi East. Hello.
Yes.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm getting you. Good morning.
Karibu sana to the conversation. What do you make of the president's remarks?
See, as Kenyans, we are behaving somehow hypocritical. I've just heard our lawyer in the morning telling us that we have to plan before we do development.
Yes.
And as for our president, all along his own agenda, has just behaved so much hypocritical. So if we claim that he'll be deporting cartels, or you see the issue of deporting somebody to heaven is nothing to do with his Christianity, or I have heard some of my fellow Kenyans claiming that our president is a Christian. So he just wants these people to change and to face some God's hand. But of another reason, because in Kenya I've got so many cases to do with assassinations and such cases, and it starts with such like allusions. You see, if you say that ama adipotiwe to heaven, it goes the next day utasikia kongongwa ama kwa mtu mahali fulani. Unajua sasa hiyo inaonekana ni statement.
Where is the hypocrisy?
The hypocrisy part of it is, just as somebody else has just talked about it, I think it was not even a month in the office, the president alitupilia cases zote to do with corruption. So kama naona hii ndio big case to do with corruption, what of the other cases? Na in fact hata hizo cases hazikuwa zinaangaliwa zikaenda through with the Uhuru's regime. So at least he could have just taken some time to judge or to do with some prosecution. Hata tudanganye wa Kenya kwamba tumeangalia na tuna utafiti wa kutosha kwamba hizi cases ziko through. But sasa unaingia na unatupa mbali na unakuja kufuata zingine eti hao ndio wezi. There is no a good thing, by the way, as for this country.
Sawa. Amara, thank you very much.
Thank you.
0719-012-600. You know, this should just be followed by action, or should be demonstrated by action. The president, it's okay. Say what you're saying, Mr. President. Declare intent. But then you have so many examples to use by basically highlighting and spotlighting how you're reading corruption from within government. We have been told Nyayo House is a crime scene.
Yes.
Because of what's happening with passport control and passport issuance. We have seen what's happening in other parts of, other arms of government. You yourself had to take direct action at KEMSA, because what you said, this is some serious abuse of office or just dereliction of duty by officers. That's what you believed, and that's why you changed you disbanded the entire board. You brought in somebody else.
New people.
So is that taking them to court? Is that taking them to heaven? You have so many opportunities to act and show us and demonstrate to us by action than by repeating 3 times.
Yeah. And I think that, look, comic aside, and looking at, okay, so what did it mean, what did it not mean, and all the things that we see coming out as a result of that, is that the truth is, if there really was a desire, if there was will to fight corruption, we would see it. And I keep saying, look, you can drop cases, you can say this and the other thing needs to happen, but if you're not actually going out and sorting out this issue, then I would have to agree with those who say these 3 things are hot air.
We have seen it many times.
We've heard it. We've heard you say things like this before. It means nothing. You could even be a little bit more threatening tomorrow. It doesn't matter. The bark seems to me to be a little bit, no, not a little bit, a lot more ferocious than the actual bite. The bite doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
Nyeri House, for example, what have they done today? They've arrested 4 suspects.
Some fringe guys.
Brokers who are outside in the street standing under the bus stop saying, like a passport. And they'll say, yeah, I can get it for you. Those are the people, really? What about the people inside the building who you know, who are employees of the state, who are doing this thing? Why
a state agency,
come on,
in the name of the Commission on Administrative Justice, the Ombudsman has come up with a report that shows the rot within this Department of Immigration.
And
any action being taken?
Nothing.
Any interdictions being taken?
Nothing.
Anything like that being taken?
I'll give you another example. The control of budget sat here and told us how, well, actually, you know, money has come in, money has been spent outside of what is constitutionally allowed for it to be spent.
Yeah.
Is anybody asking questions? No. Is anybody naming names? No. Is anybody saying, actually, you know what, this is what we ought to do because we see this is outside of the law? Have we seen that happening?
Yep.
No, we have not. Okay. There have been cases where individuals have stolen money that is meant for something else and have basically removed food out of the mouths of Kenyans.
Yeah.
That's corruption, that's impunity, that's mismanagement. Have we seen anything done about it? No. We're dancing around, but we can shout. It's like the child who does something wrong over and over and over again, and the mother stands there with her slipper, say, I will beat you, and never actually does anything. What is that child going to do? This one wouldn't beat me. No, I'll do worse next time.
Yep. You don't stop them.
Make a move.
Richard in Nairobi.
Yes, hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Latiff? Hello, Ndu.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, Richard. Asante sana for calling.
Thank you so much. My contribution is this. I think what the president is doing is okay. Actually, to me, if I were the president, 3 things would happen. I think corruption should be just punishable by death. So my first thing would be either hanging, maybe beheading, or lethal injection.
So death.
The thing is this.
Yeah,
death. But the problem I have with my president is this. I think he talks too much and there is no action. So in quotes, I label him as a storyteller. So most of the time it's just talks, but he acts less. Like you see what happened with the forest thing. 1 minute he's telling people go to the forest, you can cut indigenous trees. Then the next day he's like, I didn't say that. So I think what the president must do is talk less and act more.
Do more.
So that's my yes.
Thank you.
Actually on corruption, he has to be very stern on it, because I think Kenya, we are dragging in terms of development because of corruption.
Indeed.
Yes.
Thank you, Richard.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I agree with Richard actually as well. You know, there's too much lip service. In 2002 December, when Mwai Kibaki on a wheelchair went and received the sword to become the next president, he delivered a speech.
Yeah.
And he said, the days of the corrupt are numbered. We are going to have a new Kenya. That conversation, that was what? 21 years ago.
Yeah, 21 years ago, 2002. Yeah.
And he kept talking about corruption. Corruption is a thorn. Corruption is a scourge. Corruption is 1, 2, 3, the other. Uhuru Kenyatta came. Uhuru Kenyatta said the same thing. Uhuru Kenyatta even held a corruption conversation at State House where he had from the judiciary to the DPP to the EACC to everybody else. And he was saying the DCI. He even said, look, the DPP who's there in office, I'm removing him and putting a new one, a guy who has come from the intelligence world.
Yes.
The DCI who's there in office, I'm sending him as an ambassador somewhere to leave the country and bring a new DCI. This time, corruption. I remember him speaking at KPA at the port in Mombasa, saying, corrupt people, don't say I didn't warn you. Don't say, in fact, don't even try to call me because I will not pick your phone. You will deal with the law. You will be dealt with perpendicularly. Did we see? Zero.
Didn't say anything.
His own party, Jubilee Party, gave a ticket to somebody who has been convicted on corruption charges by court.
Sentenced.
They gave him a ticket to vie again. Jubilee Party, whose party leader was the president who has been vowing to fight corruption. So that one, let it pass. This one now, president, mambo ni mangapi? Mambo ni ngapi? Kuna mahali. Crispin in Nairobi, good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
How are you?
I'm good.
Karibu sana to the conversation.
So, actually, we made a mistake. Our first mistake that we made as Kenyans was voting in the Ruto government back in 2013, I think, yeah. And then the problem is Ruto is going to be walking and is going to be not doing whatever he's supposed to be doing. He's going to tell us how he won the elections every other single day, how he won the elections against Raila. Raila will be the topic for the next 5 years. There's no development that Ruto is going to bring to Kenya. That's for a fact. And we can't hide from that. Yeah.
Nothing else happening. Thank you very much, Crispin.
Nothing else happening in Kenya. Ruto is going to walk every single other place that he's not stepped into. He's going to step into that place and he's going to say about Raila. And yeah, you can just see the deputy and the cabinet just as a truthful and confession of how things are going to be in Kenya. Mambo ni matatu, tuame, tulale, tuame, ama tufanye nini ile?
Tuende.
Tulale kwa jela.
Ama binguni. Mimi tu kulala kwa jela ni sasa you be conman ama wewe upe kama Ruto.
Wow. Thank you, Crispin. Thank you very much. Let's hear from you as well. 0719-012-600. Gore of Yambo. Good morning.
Good morning, lady and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Morning to you.
And how is Spice FM doing?
Tuko salama.
It's unfortunate you're missing the third unit, so you're a bit incomplete. But going back to the debate on CAD, I think we need to review ourselves and look at Africa the way it is. You can see these military revolutions coming back. And I think governance in Africa is having a big challenge. So the question of democracy is just, a political statement being thrown left and right. Ruto could be having a point, but the challenge is that Ruto is also a creation of the same system of corruption. But I think a decision has to be made that which type of life does Africa want to live? Do you want to live a stealing life or accountable life? Now, and each government would come with his own way of doing things. If he means well, I would agree with him, but I doubt if that would work. Now, because it's a creation of the same thing. Going back to these appointments, the appointments of people who are the corrupt or cases in the background could have been political strategy. Maybe when it comes to application, is now then saying, look, if I find you do this, I'll do this. If I find you do this, I'll do this. So I think something needs to be done. The question is who is going to do it? Because people cannot live the way we are living. It's wrong.
Things have to change.
A head of state cannot stand up and say, look, we are losing 2 billion shillings every day, and then people just go scot-free like that. It can't work like that.
Yeah.
And any letter which is undelivered is usually returned to the sender. So if a human being cannot live, does not want to live with people the way life is supposed to be, then taking him back to the center or to the maker, I don't think it's a problem. Because it is only God who knows how he designed him. So we cannot, if he cannot live with us, then I think
send back to
so
sender.
that is my point.
Thank you.
Send back to sender.
Some comments on social media. Sample some.
Okay, quite some. So, Kennedy says the interpretation is dependent on where you stand. If you are spiritual, you see it as your spirit goes hand in hand with the will of God. And if you are carnal, you see it as someone meeting his maker. Allah? Okay. All the alleged corruption cases are being dropped, or depending on whose side you're on, let them keep enjoying this. So I think we saw it before. Let's not change anything. He should look back at it as a threat. Forget what the president said. He's simply saying that corruption has no place in Kenya, according to Joe Mungai. He won't say go to hell, thus go to heaven. Can't go north, go south. Can't go south, go north. King Dave says, even Mackenzie told his followers to starve to death, then they'll go to heaven. So... 1 + 1 is 2.
He didn't kill them.
Okay, I'm a bit confused. Okay, so it's like there's a bug in State House that he's running from. He can't stay still. I wish he would just concentrate on the public service, because the rot in the sugar factories originates from there. Is that probably the thing, that a lot of noise is being made about something that they don't really want to deal with? So it would appear as though there's some work being done, or there's something being done to stem the tide of corruption that is getting higher and higher. And words would cover it, but nothing is really being done to sort out the issue. Take the sugar industry, for example. If you really wanted to sort out what is going on in the sugar industry, would you not have done it by now?
Is it the law? Is it anything that's really stopping us from sorting out? Like the president said,
what's stopping?
Billions of shillings of taxpayers' money have gone into this sugar sector. All right? In the name of, revive this, we pay back, this and the other. And that money just goes
down the drain.
It doesn't go to the farmers. It doesn't go into the sugar factory and then, accidentally it gets caught up in the mill and gets chewed up by the meat. No.
Into the farm, growing some more
It
cane.
is stolen by people.
Yes.
And it is people who are so well connected, they know how the billions are coming, they know how to account for those billions or not. And the money just goes away. So there's a lot. From the face of it, I support what the president is saying, being tough. Even when Kibaki did it, I supported the being tough. Even when Uhuru was doing it, I support the tough talk. But then, too much tough talk.
Just do.
We have had enough tough talk.
Tough talk is good, but it must be followed by action.
This time,
Yeah.
They just sit back and yeah. So I'm somebody in this time.
Okay, next. Tomorrow he'll say it again. Okay.
So watashikwa, watakamatwa,
and it's an attitude that runs across.
Watashughulikiwa.
Deal with
watafinywa.
Wataonwa. It's the same attitude. That's why you're going to arrest 4 random guys in the street, as opposed to going to. It's like
and say that those are the ones who are
responsible for this
passport delays.
They're the ones that are contributing.
0 person has been taken to court on account of the killings in the north. Those 6 counties.
What are you doing?
Thousands of people have been killed by bandits. All right, we have gone to pacify the area and to deal with the bandits and their ringleaders and their spiritual leaders and everybody. Kithure Kindiki told us he knows who the spiritual leaders and the ringleaders are.
But you're just looking at them. Somebody said yesterday
have you sent them to heaven? Because you have the firepower to send them to heaven. You haven't.
Sent them?
Have you taken them to the DPP? Have you presented a file to DPP? Are they in court? Are they still in this country? What is this talk?
What is it? It's absolute. It's like a surgeon who goes in to cut out a cancer, goes and he sees the point of the cancer, but decides, what we're going to do? We're going to cauterize the blood vessels around and leave the cancer there. Then we can come back after a few months and see if the blood. They'll come back stronger, my friend. You decide. You're looking at the thing, but you decide not to do anything about it. Then are you part of it? Are you? Do something about it. Don't talk about it anymore.
That's what we need to see.
Yeah.
That's what we need to get to a point where now we say, all right, Thank you very much, Mr. President. You've spoken very well. And let's not engage on semantics.
What you meant, what you didn't mean, who interpreted
semantics one way or the other. No, we just caution you that should you, in case you are thinking of going extrajudicial, there are laws in this country, and extrajudicial is not one of those ways that you go in this country. No. But in case you didn't actually mean extrajudicial, whatever else you meant, as long as it's within the law, do it. Help us get rid of corruption in this country. Fine. But you must get to do it. You can't just be...
No, and
you cannot be warning your ministers. Some of you people, you don't even know what's happening in your ministries, and they're still serving. So, corrupt you corrupt people, you know, you corrupt people, we're going to deal with you. They're still sumbuaring you.
They're still there, disturbing you and everybody.
And then, in the meantime, what's happening here, and I've got to mention this Azimio Kenya Kwanza have drawn rules, and they've agreed on all the agenda. You guys wanted what? Talk about IEBC, talk about opening the server, talk about mambo food security.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it. You wanted what? We'll talk about Office of Leader of Opposition, Office of Musalia Mudavadi, Office of Women Rep, Office of the Senate.
We'll talk about
we'll
it.
entrench
Put it in the
CDF.
paper.
We will talk about it. We'll talk about all these things. You know what?
We'll just keep talking.
I said it here a couple of weeks ago. This outcome of this talk, and I can predict, some 10-15 billion shillings is going to be set aside, and it's going to be called subsidy for unga. It's going to be given to a couple of millers, 2 in the coast, 2 in Nairobi, some where, to produce unga, subsidized unga for people. This unga will be available in the slums of Nairobi and Mombasa and some other areas, capped at 150 or 130 bob. Okay, 100 itakuwa ngumu kidogo. That's it. Next thing we're going to see, the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary will be entrenched in the law.
In the law.
What basically that means is that the holder of that office will, upon retirement, continue being supported by the state until they die. Okay? That's all this entrenching of this office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, the only thing we're talking about is, do they get benefits after retirement? That's it. Then we shall create that office of leader of official opposition, tumpatie magari, tumpatie nini, and then after that, atakuwa sorted out. They'll sort themselves out, they'll leave us where we are. Unga for the rest of us will still be 300. Shukari itakuwa 500. Have a good day, people. Mambo ni matatu. Tumalize show, ama tumalize show, ama tumalize show. Story finish, 10 a.m.